Chapter 861. Following the data link that Philip had built, Han Zhao's consciousness jumped to the quantum network node where the neutral port was located. The quantum network structure of the neutral port was displayed before his eyes. Han Zhao scanned it and confirmed his target. His consciousness then entered the neutral port's database. Such an ordinary galactic port's artificial intelligence defense was nothing in front of a beyond-grade A mechanic like him who had the knowledge of the virtual creator. Under his control, Philip easily entered the back door of the neutral port's database, copied the relevant data, and quickly found Sagman's and Taylor's disguised identities. He then followed the clues and searched for all the activity records of these two identities in the wide-area quantum network. Both of them are citizens of the Aso race, ordinary galactic travelers. The last time they appeared was after browsing through the information, their resumes were flawless. They probably did exist. The real person should have died in outer space, and their identities should have been collected by the Arcane Church's spies to impersonate them. Countless galactic travelers died in the universe every year, which provided many gray organizations with a large number of protective identities. Han Zhao remembered that there were intelligence organizations selling such identities on the black market on a large scale. It was said that buy 10 get 1 free included shipping. If not for the players noticing them, no one would have noticed two ordinary people with clean resumes in the sea of people. Han Zhao shook his head and laughed. He then checked the serial number of the spaceship that the two of them used to enter the neutral port. He found that this spaceship was parked in one of the boathouses and should have been abandoned. This meant that the two of them had changed to a new spaceship in this neutral port. Han Zhao then checked the serial number of their new spaceship. Since they bought a new spaceship, it means that they spent money in this galactic port. But the account they used to disguise their identities doesn't have any spending record. They probably used an anonymous account. Philip, check which company this spaceship serial number belongs to. They should have left a transaction record there. Maybe we can find their secret account. Master, the neutral port's database doesn't have any information about the spaceship's origin. This kind of information is usually stored separately in the shipyard's database. Mark all the network nodes of the shipyards, boathouses, and black markets in this neutral port. Marked. There are a total of 1,374 nodes. Blackmail them all. Han Zhao waved his hand. As soon as he finished speaking, Philip immediately mobilized a huge amount of computing power. More than 1,000 quantum network nodes were invaded one after another. The color of the nodes changed from peaceful and stable white to green, indicating that they had obtained control authority. Like a virus infection, Han Zhao's control over this neutral port rapidly expanded. It didn't take long for Han Zhao to take over the control of these 1,000 databases. He pried open all the back doors, but none of the parties knew anything about it. With his current virtual technology, as long as he built a connection channel, he could easily cover the network nodes of an entire planet with his control authority and remotely take over a planet. Philip's processing system had been strengthened countless times by Han Zhao, and its computing power was extremely strong. It didn't take long for it to complete the data search and find out the origin of the spaceship as well as Sagman's purchase record of the spaceship, locking onto the anonymous secret account. This way there would be one more trace. If this secret account was used elsewhere, even if Sagman and the others changed their disguises, they would still be exposed. Han Zhao was still not satisfied. He planned to trace the early transfer records of this anonymous account. 80% of the money that was sent to this account was related to the Arcane Church. From this, he might be able to find some spies and other secret accounts. If he continued to follow this method, he would be able to find more and more clues. From this small opening, he might be able to lock onto the identity of some of the spies from the Arcane Church. As soon as Red Empire Manhunt Area Investigation was released, it received the attention of many army players. Millions of players accepted this prize pool mission and gathered from all directions, moving toward this area. Originally, although the players accepted the manhunt mission, they did not have any clues and could only search blindly like headless flies. Thus, some of them lost interest in the manhunt and went to do other missions. However, it was different now. With an area marked for the mission, the probability of completion was greatly increased. Countless players were attracted by the prize pool of this mission. The base reward of 10 million experience was not a small amount, but what made the players excited was the 3 million anas. Normally, when they did missions to earn money, it was already difficult for them to earn 100,000 anas. Now that a huge sum of money was placed in front of them, they did not want to fight anymore. Some players even fantasized that if they were the only ones who met the target, they would not have to split the rewards equally and would be able to take all the rewards alone. The entry fee for the mission was only 200 experience points. With such a low cost, the players did not have any concerns. This led to the crazy accumulation of experience points in the prize pool, which became another factor that attracted more players. With millions of players participating, that would be 200 million to 300 million experience points, which was extremely rich for the current players. In no time, a large number of players flooded into this area. The probability of galactic residents meeting members of the Black Star Corps increased significantly. In the interrogation room of a certain dynasty battleship, a group of captured spies of the Arcane Church were tied tightly to chairs. The dynasty soldiers were guarding the door with guns. These spies were captured according to the latest intelligence provided by Black Star. Black Star had dug out some information about the spies from Sagman and Selena's secret accounts, which allowed the dynasty to lock onto some new target. The door to the interrogation room opened, and a man with a smile on his face walked in. He was wearing a red officer's trench coat and black glove. He stood in front of the group of spies and chuckled softly. "Let me introduce myself. I am a psychic, currently a senior officer of the dynasty's intelligence agency. My name is, I won't tell you. Anyway, let's hurry up. I will dig out some information from your brains, so please cooperate. Otherwise, I will not be responsible if your brain burns out." As he spoke, this officer of the dynasty's intelligence agency walked in front of a captive and pressed his palm on the captive's head. Clang! 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 This captive started to struggle violently, and his entire body started to twitch crazily. Several seconds later, slithering blood snakes crawled out of the orifices on his face. The captive opened his mouth wide. Tears, snot, saliva, and blood dripped to the ground. He looked hideous and miserable, and his body was still cramping under the effect of his nerves. "Thank you for your cooperation." The smile on the officer's face became even brighter as he walked to the next person. The next spy watched as this person approached. His eyes were filled with fear and his face was saying, "Don't come over." The scream sounded again. Looking at this scene, the Imperial soldier guarding the door unconsciously tightened his grip on his gun as a chill ran down his spine. Very soon, this officer of the dynasty's intelligence agency finished his work. He took off his gloves, put them in his chest pocket, and left. Before he walked out of the interrogation room, he patted the shoulder of one of the soldiers guarding the door, turned his head, and gestured at the row of spies behind him. "Don't clean up the scene. These people are still useful. We need their genetic codes to verify their identities as spies." I understand." The soldier guarding the door swallowed his saliva. This intelligence officer walked out of the room, took out his communicator, and reported to Terakov. "A few of them have come into contact with Beyond Grade as. We have confirmed that the targets are Sagman and Taylor. We have also found out the codes used to verify their identities as spies and the missions given to them by the Arcane Church." Terakov nodded. "Are there any spies who are suspected to be the real contacts?" "Yes. The spies of the Arcane Church were under the direct command of the intelligence agency, and the missions they received were to head to different locations. A large portion of them were fake locations that were misleading, and only a small portion of them were the ones who were actually in contact with Sagman and Taylor. Now, because Han Xiao had locked onto the area where the two of them were, the dynasty was able to eliminate many misleading locations. As for the spies whose mission locations were around the area where the two of them were, they were suspected to be the real contact. This greatly reduced the range of the dynasty's screening. Only by finding the real contacts would Terekov be able to carry out his plan, which was to impersonate the Arcane Church's spies. Because Sagman and the others had contacted the Arcane Church directly, their contact with the spies was not coincidental but prearranged. Thus, they would not trust any spies other than the real contact. Impersonating the spies was difficult, but it was not impossible. As long as they caught the real contacts, they would have a chance to do it. Even if the Arcane Church discovered it later, it would be too late. As the Black Star Corps searched, Sagman and Taylor gradually realized that something was wrong and felt that their whereabouts had been discovered by someone else. The two of them hurriedly took all sorts of measures. However, it was as though an invisible net had opened up and covered them, gradually tightening. It was as though their every move was being monitored. This feeling made the two of them shiver. Although the two of them did not know where the problem was, they knew that it was most likely Black Star tracking them through the quantum network. Their spaceship and account could be the source of their whereabouts. Thus, the two of them abandoned the spaceship they had bought and flew a distance in the universe with their physical bodies, leaving their original spaceship. The next time the spies met, the two of them directly changed to the spaceship that the spies were carrying and set off again, obtaining a new batch of disguises. The situation took a turn for the better, and both Sagman and Taylor thought that they should have gotten rid of Black Star's tracking. However, what they did not know was that the dynasty had completely locked onto their location through various schemes and secretly set up an encirclement. When the dynasty's beyond grade as arrived, it would be time to reel in the net. The fallen Ark fleet led by God cruised through the wormholes in the center of the shattered star ring. Your Excellency God, are you sure we want to leave the shattered star ring from here? In the flagship, Hakazin asked God's main body. Of course. God shook his head and laughed. Whose Stargate can we borrow? At this time, God had already completed his evolution and was brimming with vitality. Hakazin could feel an even stronger life form pressure from God. God, who had the information of the evolutionary civilization, had obtained the evolution energy, and no one knew how big of a change he had undergone. The fallen Ark had only built a temporary stargate between the flickering world and the desolate universe belt, and there was no stargate in the shattered star ring. Back then, they had borrowed the long-distance stargate of the Arcane Church to come over from the central galaxy. Now that the cooperation had ended, they could not borrow it for the return trip. From the very beginning, God had been preparing to leave this star field through the central wormholes in the shattered star ring, partly because he had once had a fortuitous encounter there. The teleportation location of these unstable wormholes is completely random, and we don't know where they will be thrown to. The risk is too high. Let's move slowly in the desolate universe belt. We need to lie low after this incident, Hakazin advised. God turned a deaf ear to him and looked at the unstable wormholes that kept appearing and disappearing outside the porthole. Look, what a chaotic and disorderly scene this is. The true essence of the universe is contained within. Only a disorderly state contains endless possibilities. As he spoke, God turned to look at Hakazin. Do you have any information on the remaining beyond grade as of the Arcane Church? Hakazin nodded. The dynasty is currently pursuing the remaining 4 and did not spend much effort on us. The Black Star Corps, Bloodshed Land, and Klent Kingdom are all local tyrants in the Shattered Star Ring. With the help of these organizations, the dynasty might be able to capture one or two more beyond grade as. It seems like the Arcane Church suffered a huge loss this time. Yes, God glanced at Hakazan. You're very happy, aren't you? Of course. Hakazan chuckled. They wanted me before, so I'm very happy to see them suffer. I'm afraid that's not the only reason. Yes, God chuckled, but did not intend to get to the bottom of it. He turned back to look at the wormhole and slowly said, "Let's go in." The fallen Ark fleet slowly moved, entered the wormholes, and disappeared without a trace. A stream of light flashed through the dark universe. It was Sagman's and Taylor's spaceship. "We'll arrive at the next public Stargate in 7 hours, and we'll be even closer to the border of the shattered star ring. The Red Empire's control over the next star cluster is not high. Those spies are already in place and waiting to assemble the Stargate to quickly move us to another area of the shattered star ring. This way, it'll be even harder for the Red Empire to find us," Sagman said. Taylor nodded, and his expression relaxed a little. They had been hiding for more than 3 months. Such a life of being a fugitive was unbearable. Now there was finally hope for a safe escape. Sagman sighed. "It's a pity that Mercer and Dillon were captured. Of the 6 of us, only 4 have returned. No, maybe only 3. Cisco's base is in the shattered star ring, so he'll have to come back to face the pressure from Black Star and the Tyrant sooner or later." Thinking of this, the 2 of them did not feel good. The mission that they were so confident in actually ended with them fleeing. This time they had really failed. At this time, the spaceship's artificial intelligence suddenly spoke, and a familiar voice sounded. "If you have the time to worry about others, worry about your own situation first." The 2 of them were shocked, and their expressions changed drastically. This voice belonged to Black Star. The next moment, the spaceship's artificial intelligence directly locked the hyperdrive engine, and the spaceship exited hyperdrive mode. Even the normal engine was completely shut down, and the spaceship floated in the universe. The magic interference trap that Milizaus and Ravenloudy had set up in the void shrouded this area. All teleportation abilities were disrupted, and the space-time coefficient was almost constant. Streams of light shot over from all directions and surrounded Sagman's and Taylor's spaceship, blocking their escape route. Milizaus and the other beyond grade as of the dynasty had all arrived at the scene, each occupying a position. "We're surrounded." Taylor was shocked. Sagman's face twitched violently, and his expression was mixed with disbelief and anger. He looked at the Mech Legion in front of him, which was Han Zhao's army. In front of the Mech Legion were 4 apostle weapons in a row: Psionic Prime with a crown on his head and a spear in his hand, Giant King Kong in special heavy armor, Silver Flash with a huge cannon in his hand, and Mad Sky Hunter with a slender figure. In front of the 4 apostle weapons, there was another figure, but it was not Han Zhao's actual body but the mechanical shell codenamed Mammoth. At this time, Han Zhao's will was projected into the mechanical shell through a Lord's descent. The sturdy mechanical shell was surrounded by blue-gold mechanical force, which was extremely dazzling. This mechanical shell seemed to have become Han Zhao's doppelganger, sharing a lot of his attributes, abilities, and talents, possessing the strength of a beyond grade A super. "Surrender." Milizaus exhaled 2 streams of dark energy from his nostrils, as if he was in high spirits. Although he was unwilling to pursue and attack, the dynasty had already locked onto the enemy, and he and the other beyond grade as could not openly disobey the dynasty's orders. Sagman looked around, and his gaze finally landed on Han Zhao's mechanical doppelganger. After being defeated by Han Zhao several times, he was already beyond angry. Seeing this, Han Zhao controlled his mechanical doppelganger and slowly said, "In this situation, the chance of you escaping is next to 0. We only want to capture you alive, so why don't you surrender?" Sagman exhaled and suddenly laughed. His smile was filled with viciousness. When have you ever heard of a beyond grade A surrendering before even fighting? Maybe today? Han Xiao raised his brows. Although he said that, he lowered his body slightly and got into a charging posture, ready to fight. Seeing this, the other beyond grade As also became restless, ready to attack with Han Xiao at any time. Sagman looked ahead and said to Taylor, "I'll try to stall all of them later, and you find a chance to escape. They only want to capture us alive, so it's better for us to escape." "Don't be silly. They clearly came prepared. I can't escape." Taylor smiled bitterly and took out his staff. "I'll stay and fight with you. Even if I can't change the outcome, I can't be captured without dignity." Sagman nodded and said with a deep voice, "I wonder how long it will take for us to regain our freedom after this battle." The two of them exchanged glances. Boom. The next moment, the spaceship exploded, and the two of them charged toward the countless Dynasty troops. Galaxy Chronicles, Official Revised Edition. Frowny Face Galaxy Calendar Year 705, September 27th. The Arcane Church and the Fallen Ark joined hands and launched a surprise attack on Planet Lighthouse in the Flickering World. Their goal was to obtain the Evolution Cube and kill the Red Empire's Beyond Grade A allies, Black Star, Milizaus, and Bayoni. Magus Austin participated in this battle. The Arcane Church used the 10,000 deity scepter to heavily injure Milizaus, but was sealed by Black Star using a special method. Black Star captured the Arcane Church's Beyond Grade A Dylan alive and destroyed the Arcane Church's surprise attack plan. The Arcane Church fleet was forced to retreat, and the Dynasty began to pursue them. October 3rd of the same year, when the Arcane Church fleet escaped from the Flickering World, Fleet Commander Rogo and Beyond Grade A Mercer were captured. January 21st, year 706, with the assistance of the Radiant Federation, Black Star Corps, Bloodshed Land, Clent Kingdom, and Amethyst Civilization, the Red Empire successfully intercepted Beyond Grade as Sagman and Taylor in the Shattered Star Ring. The two of them fought a bloody battle and were eventually captured by the Red Empire. At this point, the Dynasty's pursuit came to an end. The Arcane Church fleet was completely annihilated. Of the 6 Beyond Grade As who participated in the surprise attack, 4 were captured by the Red Empire, and only 2 escaped. This is known as the Battle of Planet Lighthouse, and the Enemy of Ethereal Incident. Happy April Fool's Day, a new month has begun. Looking for a guaranteed monthly ticket? Remember the mobile version of the website, M865 captured, page 1/1, bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 862. The Arcane Church had a diplomatic embassy on the mother planet of the Red Empire. The ambassador visited the political core of the Red Empire, Tarunamir Palace, to discuss the ransom of Dylan and Mercer with the relevant officials of the dynasty. The negotiations had been going on for a few months. The dynasty officials were initially stubborn, but now they were gradually accepting some of the conditions. The ambassador of the Arcane Church knew that he was gradually making progress. Regarding the ransom clause number 53, "We have something to add," the ambassador spoke, and the dynasty officials nodded and listened. Occasionally they would ask a question or two. They did not have the authority to make their own decisions. In fact, they were only the mouthpieces of the upper echelons of both sides. Their attitude was the attitude of the upper echelons. After listening for a while, the communicator of the dynasty official suddenly rang. After receiving the message, the ambassador tactfully stopped talking and signaled that he would continue after the matter was settled. The dynasty official opened the communicator, glanced at it, and then put it away. Seeing this, the ambassador was about to continue when the dynasty official raised his hand and signaled for him to stop. "Let's end it here for today. The previous conditions are all overturned. Go back and make a new ransom agreement." The ambassador was shocked. "Didn't we already discuss the previous agreement? Why did you suddenly?" the dynasty official waved his hand and interrupted the ambassador. He stood up and looked down at the ambassador. A smile appeared on his face, and the smile contained a sense of pride and superiority that made the ambassador feel uneasy. Go back and wait for the news from your upper echelons. Or you can look at the news today. You'll know why. After 3 months, the situation between the Red Empire and the Arcane Church had new developments. On this day, the dynasty made a new announcement to the entire universe, announcing that they had successfully captured 2 beyond grade as of the Arcane Church. So far, the dynasty had 4 captives in their hands. The dynasty's counterattack was like thunder, and many organizations in the universe were shocked. Seeing the Arcane Church suffer such a huge loss, some were gloating, some were secretly happy, and some were united against a common enemy. In more than 10 star fields, among the galactic residents of countless civilizations, this news caused a huge commotion. In the eyes of ordinary people, beyond grade as were like gods, as far as legends were concerned. However, this time, a total of 4 high and mighty beyond grade as were beaten into the mortal world and became prisoners. Ever since the start of the galaxy calendar, it had been many years since a group of beyond grade as had been captured. Countless galactic residents felt as though they were witnessing history. This sensational incident would definitely be recorded in history. On the forums, the players' views on this incident were focused on a different perspective. The mission of searching the area had been completed, and the players who provided the clues were equally rewarded. In the army program, Philip issued a message to all of them, praising them for their contributions. This proved that they had contributed greatly to the dynasty capturing the 2 beyond grade as. The few players who first discovered Sagman's unusual behavior posted on the forums about their reward. This made many players realize that they had inadvertently changed the direction of the storyline of this huge incident. Their participation in this storyline had caused quite a bit of impact. From version 1.0 to the current version 3.0, the players gradually realized that they had more and more influence on the storyline and were more and more involved in the galaxy. Usually, the players would only feel the influence of their actions when they were carrying out side missions on Weak Planet. However, this time, they had changed the storyline of a huge incident related to the battle between universal civilizations, which was several levels higher. Realizing the importance of their actions brought them a sense of accomplishment and joy that made them happier than just the mission rewards. This incident was also recorded in the annals of the Shattered Star Ring by the players. Every player could write their own annals, which resulted in a lot of redundancy. The officials would filter the incidents and organize them. Some trivial matters would be placed in the appendices, and only such huge incidents would be placed in the main post. The players who wrote the annals could sign their names and receive rewards. Many people were proud of this. In another star cluster in the Shattered Star Ring, a long fleet was lined up in front of a public stargate. Among them was an ordinary spaceship. Inside the spaceship, the virtual screen was showing a piece of news. The dynasty's news channel announced the results of the pursuit. 2 beyond grade, as from the Arcane Church, were captured alive. The virtual screen was turned off. Ninja put down the remote control and held his forehead with one hand. His expression was complicated. Sagman and the others have been captured by the dynasty. Of the 4 people who had escaped from the flickering world, 2 had already been captured. Psyker's situation was also very bad, and it seemed like he was the only one who could escape from the Shattered Star Ring unscathed. Ninja could not help but feel pity for him. He still remembered that when they first set out, the 6 of them were filled with confidence and felt that they had a 90% chance of success. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, they would be completely annihilated and flee in defeat? Many of them were captured, and only the aftermath was left. He heard that the upper echelons of the Arcane Church were negotiating with the Red Empire to discuss the issue of ransom. Now that the dynasty had 2 more bargaining chips, the Arcane Church would have to pay an even greater price. Furthermore, he did not think that the Red Empire would allow the Arcane Church to ransom everyone. Among the 4 who were captured, some would probably be imprisoned for a long time. At least, I brought the 10,000 deity scepter back. Ninja shook his head lightly. At this point, he could only use this excuse to comfort himself and the Arcane Church. Luckily, Ninja brought the 10,000 deity scepter and didn't let the dynasty snatch it away. In the meeting of the Arcane Church's bishops, many of the bishops were frowning. Someone said this in a relieved tone, but it only attracted a glance of helplessness from the others. A bishop sighed. We activated the spy network in the Shattered Star Ring, but we didn't manage to bring back all the Beyond Grade as. The price we paid is far greater than the benefit. Sagman and Taylor have fallen into the hands of the dynasty, increasing their bargaining chips. We need to pay more ransom, and the dynasty won't be polite with us. The ransom between 2 universal civilizations would not be as simple as money but political, military, and economic conditions. The round table of the conference was filled with worry. The bishops looked lost, but they had no time to be angry. Dillon, Mercer, Taylor, and Sagman did not only represent themselves. The 4 of them each had their own Beyond Grade A organizations, and they were extremely powerful. Now that their leaders had been captured, these Beyond Grade A organizations were in an uproar, and everyone was anxious. The Arcane Church had to stabilize these allied organizations, so they were under immense pressure. Coupled with the attention of the other Beyond Grade As, not only did the Arcane Church have to ransom them, but they also had to do it as soon as possible. They could not disappoint their allies, or it would be difficult to attract new Beyond Grade As to work for them in the future. There would always be old Beyond Grade As dying and new Beyond Grade As being born. The time scale of a civilization was very long, and the Beyond Grade As under them would be constantly updated. From a long-term perspective, the reputation of a civilization in this regard were more important than the 4 captured individuals themselves. In terms of updates and iterations, the Red Empire currently had an absolute advantage. As the holder of the record for being the fastest to reach the Beyond Grade A realm, Black Star was undoubtedly a stock with great potential. After this battle, Black Star, who had only reached the Beyond Grade A realm not long ago, had already begun to show his edge, faster than countless organizations had expected. In the foreseeable future, with the ability Black Star displayed, he would definitely become an expert that the Red Empire relied on. The most frightening thing was Black Star's age. He was the youngest Beyond Grade A, and could serve the dynasty for hundreds or even thousands of years. In other words, they would probably have to deal with this guy continuously for the next few hundred years. Thinking that the Red Empire had such a stock with great potential, the upper echelons of the Arcane Church were extremely jealous. They also wanted to kill Black Star, but this attempt had caused them great losses. The Arcane Church was forced to temporarily give up on the Evolution Cube. Before the impact of this incident was resolved, the Arcane Church did not plan to find trouble with Black Star anymore. They did not even want to look at him. The Arcane Church admitted that they had failed this time. They would remember this debt for now. They would settle it in the future. The days were still long. Sagman and the others have failed this time. In a dark room, the Beyond Grade As of the Arcane Church gathered here through remote projections. There were 6 seats above the round table. Because of this incident, all the Beyond Grade As of the Arcane Church gathered together to discuss this incident. Back then, when the Arcane Church was planning this operation, they came to find me. They only saw the difference in strength and felt that it was impossible to fail. However, I felt that there was a risk, so I rejected the call. That brute Mercer replaced my position. Now, it seems like it's a good thing I did not agree back then. Someone could not help but speak in hindsight. It's a pity that I'm being watched by many organizations and can't be secretly mobilized. Otherwise, with me participating in this operation, the result would have been different. someone else said calmly. The Arcane Church also had existences similar to the three national pillars of the Red Empire. However, the strongest beyond grade as did not participate in this operation. Because of their strength, they were more closely monitored, and any movement would attract attention. The Arcane Church felt that with the 10,000 deity scepter and the advantage in numbers, they were more than enough to crush the dynasty. Thus, they found Sagman and the other 6 beyond grade as the strongest. Sagman and Ninja were still a distance away from the strongest beyond grade as. However, no matter what, Sagman and the others did not manage to snatch the evolution cube despite having the advantage in numbers. The ability Black Star displayed this time was an unexpected factor. It seems like we have another strong opponent. In a few decades, the dynasty's 3 pillars will probably become the dynasty's 4 pillars. Seeing their allies on the same side suffer at the hands of Black Star, the beyond grade as present could not help but have a deeper impression of Han Xiao. How is it? What do you guys think? Should we wait for the Arcane Church to ransom them, or should we intercept the dynasty's fleet and rescue them midway? Let's just wait and see. If the Arcane Church can solve the problem, we should not complicate the situation. Furthermore, according to the information from the Arcane Church, Black Star can seal beyond grade as. Although we don't know what kind of universal treasure it is, it's obviously not that easy to break. Everyone nodded. They were all wary of the second mysterious universal treasure in Han Zhao's hands. Normally, when the dynasty escorted 4 beyond grade A captives back, the important condition for them to rescue them midway was to cooperate with the outside. However, the Arcane Church said that Black Star could seal beyond grade as. With the intelligence of a universal civilization, this was definitely not baseless. Without cooperation from the inside, the difficulty of rescuing them midway would increase exponentially. Although it seemed like a small change, it would affect the entire situation. The beyond grade as present all had a relationship with Sagman and the others, but this relationship was not enough for them to take the risk. The deep blue space energy swirl raised ripples that looked like tide. An overwhelming fleet of the Imperium, spurting out orange propulsion flames, slowly sailed out of the space gate, leaving trails of fading exhaust flames. Among them was an enormous dragon that was as large as a warship. The light of the Stargate sprinkled on the hull of every battleship, leaving mottled shadows on the mechanical structure of the battleship, illuminating the cracks and dents in the armor. The damaged outer armor was filled with battle scars. A few Black Star Corps spaceships hovered not far from the Stargate and slowly approached the heavy-armed main ship of this fleet. The damage of the main ship was especially terrifying. A large area of the armor plate was torn apart, and there were dozens of holes filled with nanorepair materials. All of these showed how intense the battle was. The spaceships docked with the main ship, and the mechanical structures around the hatch locked together, completing the connection. Chi. The hatch slid open, and Han Xiao walked into the main ship through the tunnel. Under the lead of the dynasty soldiers, he arrived at the prison area that was heavily guarded. There were 2 restraining cabins placed there. The inner walls of the restraining cabins were made of an extremely tough alloy material, making it extremely difficult to escape from the inside. The internal structure would automatically adjust according to the size of the prisoner and fix them in place. The interlayer was equipped with various devices to provide high voltage and electromagnetic fields to restrain them and weaken the transmission of energy. The 2 restraining cabins were holding Sagman and Beyonder respectively. The restraining cabins could not completely restrain a beyond grade A, but the 2 of them were already heavily injured and could not break free. Heber, Baoni, and the other beyond grade as of the dynasty were guarding by the side. Han Zhao's main body had come over to use the spacetime amber to completely seal the 2 of them. Lord! Psionic Prime and the other apostle weapons greeted him. You've worked hard. Han Xiao nodded and retrieved the mechanical shell. The mechanical shell carried his Lord's descent. and it would not be able to escape unscathed while fighting against Sagman and Beyonder. Sagman and Beyonder had nowhere to run, so they fought with all their might. The strength they displayed was not to be underestimated, especially Sagman. His Esper ability was extremely destructive and caused some damage to the fleet. However, he was still suppressed by the dynasties beyond grade as in the end. Tarakov's remote projection greeted him and nodded. "You're here. We've been waiting for you." "Release them." Han Shao told the dynasty soldiers to open the restraining cabins, took out the spacetime amber, and sealed Sagman and Taylor within. "This is much safer. There won't be any risk of them escaping." Tarakov knocked on the amber ball with satisfaction. Ravenlouty could not help but look at Han Shao. He felt more and more that the spacetime amber was extremely useful. Tarakov told the soldiers to move the 2 amber balls away while he brought Han Shao and the others to the conference room. After everyone was seated, he looked at Han Shao and said, "Her Excellency the ruler is very satisfied with our progress. She has already learned of Black Star's contribution and has specially rewarded him." Han Shao nodded. He had contributed quite a bit during the pursuit and provided a lot of intelligence. After capturing the 2 of them, his interface had notified him that he had received 4,500 dynasty contribution points. Not only that, Tarakov had also privately revealed to him that this contribution would cause the dynasty to favor him when it came to dividing the territories of the flickering world, and he would have a chance to obtain a bigger and better territory. Not only did this sudden incident avert danger, but it also turned the tables around. The dynasty's upper echelons had a very good impression of Han Shao. The pursuit operation of the dynasty has ended. We will be searching for the Arcane Church's spies, but this task will be taken over by the intelligence department. The dynasty has another mission for you guys. Tarakov then changed the topic. Next, the dynasty needs you guys to escort 4 captives to the Constellation Corridor to prevent being intercepted by the Arcane Church on the way. Everyone nodded. It was necessary to be more cautious. They could not lose these bargaining chips because of carelessness. However, Black Star and the Tyrant are not included in the escort. Everyone looked over. Han Shao and Heber were both surprised. "What do you want us to do?" Heber asked with a deep voice. Tarakov opened the star map and enlarged his field of vision. His finger pointed at the territory of the Star Pupil Holy Race. "I need the 2 of you to lead some of the dynasty's fleets to the territory of the Star Pupil God Race." "To capture Cisco?" Heber frowned. "No, you guys are only there to pressure them." Tarakov shook his head. "Cisco's situation is different from the others. He is the leader of a civilization, and his base is in the Shattered Star Ring. The dynasty originally planned to deal with him, but after you guys captured Sagman and Taylor, Her Excellency cancelled this plan. You guys can treat it as a form of compromise." That's not bad." Maximilar interrupted. "We have 4 captives in our hands, and Cisco is someone who has nowhere to run. It might not be a good thing for the dynasty to continue chasing after him. The others did not have any foundation in the Shattered Star Ring, so they could only blame themselves for not being able to escape. Cisco could run, but his temple could not. However, if the dynasty went to the territory of a quasi-star cluster civilization and forcefully took away the leader of their civilization, it would cause a huge backlash. The Arcane Church could not sit by and watch the organization under their protection be bullied like that, or they would lose the trust of their allies. The dynasty was not afraid of these consequences, but since they had captured new captives, they did not need Cisco as a backup option. If it was not necessary, the dynasty did not want to cause a huge backlash. Thus, they changed their original plan and decided to act according to the circumstances. Of course, not capturing Cisco did not mean that they would not pursue his actions. It was necessary to suppress the development of the Star Pupil race. If they could chase an organization that was close to the Arcane Church out of this star field, it would be the best. The Red Empire had mobilized hundreds of millions of battleships in order to develop the flickering world. Now that they had moved a portion of their fleet to the shattered star ring, the armed forces that they could mobilize in this star field exceeded the combined forces of the other two organizations. Even if the Radiant Federation was the ruler of this place, it was useless. There was only one word. They could do whatever they wanted. What a pity! Han Xiao raised his brows. He could not help but feel that it was a pity that he could not capture the other party. He had always been very interested in Cisco's body structure. Every time he saw Cisco, he would want to poke his eyes out. However, he had taken away the race treasure in the eyes of the star pupil race. The two of them were like fire and water. Now that he wanted to go to someone else's territory to pressure them, it seemed a little too arrogant. It seems like I have to bring more people with me. I don't want to get beaten up, Han Xiao thought. Chapter 863. After finalizing the operation plan, the dynasty's troops were split into 3 teams. Milizau's and the others would escort the 4 captives sealed in amber back to the central galaxy. Terekov would stay behind to organize the fleet, and Han Xiao and Heber would not stay behind for long. They would head to the territory of the star pupil god race together. After watching the dynasty's fleet leave, Han Xiao turned to look at Heber's figure on the virtual screen of the spaceship and smiled. This time we will be working together again. When we reach the star pupil god race, I hope you can live up to your nickname and be more domineering. Humph. The virtual screen turned black, and Heber turned off the communication, indicating that he did not wish to speak to Han Xiao. Outside the porthole, the Bloodshed Lands fleet turned around and left, turning into streams of light. Han Xiao shook his head and immediately dialed Sylvia's number. Get her Luz to send some fleets to this rendezvous point. I've gotten Philip to send you the star map coordinate. Roger. After a brief exchange, Han Xiao ended the call. He felt more and more that Sylvia was capable, and he did not have to worry about anything. I feel like I'm becoming more and more like Ames, a hands-off boss. Han Xiao played with the communicator and could not help but chuckle. He suddenly thought of something. If he were to become Ames, wouldn't Sylvia be his Jane Baldhead Jenny? The valiant female mechanical knight in his previous life had become the capable secretary of the army. He did not know which one was more attractive in the eyes of the players. He only knew that Sylvia seemed to be very popular among the players. This time, Mad Sky Hunter took the initiative to come to his side and nudged Han Xiao with his head. Han Xiao's mouth twitched, and he reached out to stroke Mad Sky Hunter's head. Mad Sky Hunter let out a snoring sound, stretched out his front legs, and stretched his back. He took the initiative to lower his head and let Han Xiao touch him like a pet. Only in front of Han Xiao, who had given him life, would Mad Sky Hunter show such an attitude. As a beast-type mechanical life form, he seemed to have some misconceptions about himself. Han Xiao had checked his internet records and realized that other than the combat information package, he had also downloaded countless videos of pets acting cute. It seemed like he had been diligently learning the various skills of a pet, which formed a huge contrast with his ferocious appearance. Han Xiao felt cold sweat. If he touched him, it would not feel good, but if he did not touch him, Silver Flash watched coldly from the sidelines, secretly disdainful. Humph, a bootlicker. Han Xiao thought for a while and sent a communication request to Ames. Ames' noble appearance appeared before him. Why are you looking for me? I have a mission here. I'm going to the Star Pupil Protoss race to bully Cisco. Are you interested? Ames supported her chin with her right hand. Her sleeves slid down, revealing a slender, snow-white arm. She blinked. I realize that you really don't like to chat with me when you don't have anything important to do. Are you coming or not? Let me look at the schedule. Ames raised her eyes, looked past the screen, and looked at the person beside her. She slowly asked, "Jenny, does Floating Dragon Island have any missions for me to do recently?" After a while, a haggard voice that was gnashing his teeth sounded from the other side of the screen. "Yes, but have you done it before?" Ames heard this and waved her hand. Han Xiao could not see what was happening outside the screen, but Jenny's voice disappeared. He did not know if she was hit by the force field. "I have nothing to do, so I'll go take a look." Ames smiled as if nothing had happened. "Okay." Han Xiao nodded and chose to ignore what had just happened. "By the way, this is a mission from the dynasty. You shouldn't be the only one going, right?" "Yes, other than me, Heber will be going too, along with some of the dynasty's fleets." "Heber is going too?" Ames narrowed her eyes. "Humph, I can't be bothered to see him." "I'm not going." "You go with him." Ames then hung up the communication. Han Xiao blinked and looked at the black screen, confused. Did Ames have such a big opinion of Heber? She went back on her word just like that. It seemed that she had underestimated the effect of Heber's previous straightforward courtship. Just as the Red Empire was holding 4 captives and gaining prestige across the entire universe, the star pupil Protoss had an uninvited guest in the Eternal Night star system. Mother Planet, Government Building, Official Cabinet. Cisco held the highest authority, and the Official Cabinet was an organization that assisted him in managing government affairs. A portion of the Official Cabinet members were high-ranking officials with real power. This system obviously had its drawbacks, but it was not a problem for Cisco. His strength and prestige gave him the right to speak, and his psychic power allowed him to discern thoughts and emotions. No one could make him a mere figurehead. During this time, Cisco was on the run, and the Official Cabinet was in charge of the daily operations of the government. Both parties did not break off contact. Although Cisco was on the run, he had been handling the affairs of his race remotely. It was just that he was not at home and did not appear in public. Recently, the storm of public opinion in the universe had made the star pupil Protoss anxious. This was especially so when the Red Empire captured Sagman and Taylor, which made the star pupil Protoss citizens worried that their leader would be captured as well. They were also afraid that the Red Empire would take revenge on the star pupil Protoss race. Under all kinds of worries, a portion of them blamed Cisco in their hearts. Why did he have to get involved in this mess for no reason? Now, he was in such a passive position. Such views were widespread on the Star Pupil Holy Races network, and a small group of people were unhappy with Psyker because of the threat to their safety. As for Psyker's contributions in the past, it did not affect their judgment. It was normal for a group of people to hate someone who was given benefits, and it was a pity that Psyker did not succeed. Otherwise, the direction of public opinion would have been to praise him. However, the extreme views of a small portion of the public could not affect the stability of the government of a quasi-star cluster civilization. Cisco's control over his race was not made of paper. Even if the future was unclear, the government still operated diligently. The Official Affairs Pavilion issued an order to spread the news that Psyker had fallen into this situation because he was trying to reclaim the treasure of the tribe, creating an image that Psyker was willing to risk his life for the sake of the tribe's dignity. This firmly suppressed a batch of dissatisfied comments and controlled public opinion. At this time, in the Great Hall of the Cabinet, many important officials were discussing whether they should enter a higher level of wartime emergency to welcome Cisco back and protect him with the army, even at the expense of confronting the Empire. The upper echelons of the military also participated in the meeting and had their own opinions. At this moment, one of the upper echelons of the military received a report, and his expression changed drastically. He slammed the table and stood up. With trembling lips, he read the report with a trembling voice. Border Outpost Number 17 detected a large-scale dynasty fleet approaching the border. It has reached tens of millions, and there are battleships from the Black Star Corps and Bloodshed Land mixed within. What? All the important officials present turned pale with fright, their faces filled with horror. Could it be that the worst-case scenario had happened, and the dynasty's fleet had really attacked? Before anyone could react, the second piece of information arrived. The other party stopped at the border and did not force their way in. They are currently negotiating with the outpost officers and have confirmed that Black Star and the Tyrant are in this fleet. Their intentions are unknown. The important personnel on the scene slowly calmed down. They looked at the officer with resentment in their eyes. "Can you not take such long breaths when speaking? You're scaring us." After the shock subsided, everyone's rationality came online again. That's right, there are only tens of millions of battleships. It doesn't seem like they are here to start a war. Could it be that they are here to force us to hand over our leader? What should we do? Won't we still end up in a conflict with them? Everyone had a troubled expression. Very soon, the third report was sent back in real time through quantum communication. Black Star and the Tyrant said that they are only here to visit the Star Pupil God race and hope to talk to Cisco face to face. The officials looked at each other in dismay. "Do you think we're idiots for bringing such a menacing army here as guests? They are not here with good intentions. Say, if we reject their request, will they wait outside the border or use force?" One of the officials asked hesitantly. Everyone looked at him speechlessly. "Do you think the Crimson Dynasty sent their troops and two beyond grade as to come to our territory for sightseeing? Since we dared to invite them to our territory, that would be equivalent to refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. How could they let us off so easily? Little brother, how did you get into the intelligence pavilion? Do you have a backer? This matter is beyond the scope of our authority. Let's report this to Leader Cisco and let him decide." The intelligence pavilion immediately contacted Cisco, who was on the run outside. Not long after, the call went through. Cisco looked around, his 7 eyes scanning everyone from every angle. Seeing the heavy expression on everyone's face, he could not help but ask, "What happened?" "Leader, the Red Empire's fleet is here." One of his confidants explained the situation. After that, the entire place was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone was waiting for his decision. Psyker took a deep breath and closed his eyes. After a while, he slowly opened them and enunciated each and every word clearly. "Receive them. I'll rush back now." "But they're here for you." Many people had anxious expressions, but subconsciously they were relieved. If Cisco had continued to run away and not come out to take responsibility, they did not know how this matter would end. "They are doing this to force me to return. Black Star and the Tyrant understand me. They know that I will not abandon my civilization." Cisco's expression returned to normal, and he slowly said, "There is no use in running away. I have to face this calamity eventually. This is the price of failure." Everyone had grief and anger on their faces. "Don't worry, the dynasty already has 4 captives in their hands. Directly visiting the Star Pupil Protoss might not necessarily be to capture me." Cisco shook his head. Other than observing the situation, he did not return because he did not think that the dynasty would take the risk to attack a civilization that was bound by the peace treaty. Although his base was rooted here, the dynasty might not necessarily capture him head-on. However, he did not want his race to take the risk for him, so he was not willing to accept the protection of his race's army. However, just in case, he did not go too far away and had been loitering around the border of the territory. "Understood. We will open the border and let the fleet escort them to a planet," one of the commanders said in a serious tone. The safety of a territory was very important to a civilization, but at this time, they were actually taking the initiative to open the border to welcome hostile guests. The dynasty's actions were undoubtedly pressuring them, and everyone present could not calm down. Not long after, the Star Pupil Protoss dispatched troops to the border to welcome them. Most of the Red Empire fleet remained outside the border. Han Shao and Heber led a portion of the fleet and followed the Star Pupil Protoss troops to a border colonial planet. The Star Pupil Protoss obviously did not want too many people to know about this. The spaceship directly stopped in the inner administrative area of the planet. Before the emissaries qualified to receive the two arrived, the local feudal lord of this colonial planet would receive them. After getting off the spaceship, this feudal lord led Han Shao and Heber to the reception room. Along the way, he was trembling with fear, as if he was treading on thin ice. Following behind him, Han Shao could clearly see the beads of sweat sliding down the back of his neck. The Star Pupil Protoss soldiers around them were nervous and alert. They stared at Han Shao and Heber's groups and gripped the guns in their hands tightly. Heber was used to other people's fearful gazes. He strode forward, and a group of vanguard officials followed behind him. The muscular bullies looked ferocious, and they gave people the impression that they would form a team of fitness trainers to take a stroll on the road. They always gave people the illusion that they would shout, "Learn more about swimming and fitness," at any moment. Han Shao looked around at the architectural style of the Star Pupil Protoss. Hela, the other Black Star Guards, and the 4 Apostle weapons followed behind. The 2 of them had brought their own elite Calamity-grade fighters, and beside them were the Dynasty's officers. Arriving at the reception room, everyone took a seat. The local feudal lord wiped his sweat and said carefully, "The emissaries are on their way. Please wait a moment." Heber was like a small mountain as he sat on the sofa with a powerful aura around him. He crossed his arms and asked coldly, "When is Cisco coming back?" This, I don't know." The local feudal lord was pressured by the aura, and he almost lost his composure on the spot. He barely managed to open his mouth and stuttered a sentence. Han Shao casually picked up a special fruit on the table. It looked like a dyed blue cucumber. He took a bite, chewed twice, smacked his lips, and then picked up another one. With a flick of his wrist, he threw it toward Heber. "I've tested it. It's not poisonous. Eat it without worry." Heber's face twitched. "I was acting cool and you threw a fruit at me. You ruined the atmosphere. Also, I'm a strong pugilist. Do I need a mechanic like you to test for poison for me?" The fruit was thrown over, and it would not look good if it fell to the ground. Heber could only catch it and throw it to the vanguard official behind him. This time, Heber could not be bothered to say anything. He closed his eyes and rested. Han Shao did not speak either. He closed his eyes and enjoyed Aurora massaging his temples. The atmosphere became quiet. After the guards around them were on alert at the beginning, they saw the few of them acting as if there was no one else around and were enraged. Damn it, these people do not care about the Star Pupil race at all. This was especially so for Black Star. Not only had he stolen their greatest treasure, but he had also dared to enter their territory. He was simply too arrogant. The few guards held their guns tightly and almost could not help but shoot at Han Shao. However, their rationality stopped them. The Red Empire was currently doing whatever they wanted in the Shattered Star Ring, and their backer, the Arcane Church, had also suffered losses. Naturally, they did not dare act recklessly. Very soon, the guards around them began to change shift. The Calamity-grade supers who had arrived acted as guards. Countless pairs of eyes stared at Han Shao and Heber, not daring to be distracted at all. After a while, hurried footsteps could be heard outside the door. The door was pushed open, and an emissary walked in with a few subordinates. "Your Excellency Black Star, Your Excellency Heber, emissary of the Red Empire, I'm the person in charge of receiving you. You can call me Jed." Jed bowed slightly, but his tone was neither servile nor overbearing. Heber opened his eyes again and asked the same question. "When will Cisco arrive?" "We don't know. The leader has his own itinerary. It may take a few days or it may take half a month. Please wait for a while. We will provide accommodation. If the two of you don't want to stay, we don't have any objections," Jed said lightly. Boom. Flames exploded from Heber's body, and the pressure increased exponentially. It was as if an invisible storm had been set off in the room. He stared at Jed coldly and slowly said, "Don't try to fool me. Don't patronize me. Cisco has always been near the border of the star pupil Protoss, not far in this direction. I'll only give you 3 days. If you don't see him by then, consider the consequences." Jed held his breath. He was suppressed by Heber's aura to the point that he could not breathe. He gritted his teeth and nodded with difficulty. "I will convey your message to the upper echelons." This time, Han Shao opened his eyes and raised his hand to signal Aurora to step back. He stared at Jed with interest. "I just walked around your network. You seem to be very keen on blocking the news. It seems like not many people know that we are here. What do you want to do?" Jed thought of Han Zhao's ability, and his expression changed slightly. "It's not good to block the news. Let me help you." Han Shao smiled. With a thought, Philip immediately released data packages to the major media websites of the star pupil Protoss, forcing them to publicize a few pieces of news. They could roughly be summarized as, the Imperial fleet came to question, the star pupil Protoss trembled in fear. Black Star and the Tyrant arrived, but Cisco did not dare to show up, and Cisco fled in fear of punishment, thinking of abandoning his race. Such shocking content brought up the rhythm of the star pupil Protoss being cowardly, and Cisco not daring to take responsibility. This made the citizens of the star pupil Protoss sullen, and dealt a blow to Cisco's prestige. With his virtual technology, this news instantly broke through the blockade of public opinion and swept across the star pupil Protoss network. Cisco had brought him a huge crisis, and he was here to establish the dynasty's prestige. Han Shao would not be polite. Only when Cisco appeared would he make Philip stop. Jed hurriedly walked to the side, exchanged a few words with the upper echelons, and then returned to Han Shao with a serious tone. "Your Excellency Black Star, please stop this immediately, or else," bang! Before he could finish, Jed's head was grabbed by a large hand and slammed onto the table. The table cracked. Bloodshedland's chief vanguard official, Rothers, pressed down on his head and coldly said, "Watch your attitude when talking to us. If there's a next time, I'll crush your head." Letting go of his hand, Jed staggered back, his face filled with anger. However, the situation was beyond his control, and he had no choice but to endure it. Without saying a word, he took out a handkerchief and wiped the blue blood on his head. Seeing how arrogant they were, the faces of the surrounding calamity-grade supers turned uglier and uglier. Anger surged in their hearts, but their entire race was involved, and these people did not dare act rashly. They struggled internally and felt indignant. Han Shao raised his brows and glanced at Heber. His eyes seemed to be saying, "You're the evil one." Heber returned a look and said, "You talk too much." At this time, the news that Han Shao had spread caused an uproar on the internet. Countless star pupil Protoss citizens were enraged. Some scolded the dynasty for going too far and smearing their leader's name. Some were worried that Cisco would not return. Some were furious and could not wait to go to the planet where Han Shao and the others were at to confront them. Some were angry that the star pupil Protoss should be tough and would rather die than live in dishonor. Anyway, he was not the one risking his life, so there was no pressure in making this suggestion. Countless people wanted to take back their family treasure day and night. The star pupil Protoss were extremely hostile toward Han Shao, and Han Shao did not mind them being hostile toward him. The more hostile they were, the more Cisco's prestige would be affected. Jed did not say anything, but one of the guards in the room could not hold it in any longer and suddenly shouted at Han Shao. "Do you not have any conscience at all? You stole our family treasure and still dare to come here and show off." As soon as this was said, everyone looked at him. Hela's eyes flashed coldly. Just as she was about to punish him, Han Shao grabbed her hand and turned to look at this guard. "What's your name?" "Lalam." This guard was obviously going all out. He was extremely agitated and shouted very loudly. Then what do you want me to do? Of course it's to return our clan's treasure. Sure. Han Xiao nodded, took out the evolution cube, and threw it directly into the hands of this guard. Take it. The star pupil Protoss present was stunned. This guard stared at the evolution cube in disbelief. Didn't you want it? Now it's in your hands. Han Zhao's smile disappeared. However, I have to remind you, if you walk out of this room, you'll be snatching the evolution cube. At that time, the dynasty's expeditionary fleet will be here. Are you willing to bear the consequences? This guard's face turned purple, and he flew into a rage out of humiliation. You're using your strength to threaten me. Do you have any morals in your heart? Han Xiao raised his hand and sucked the evolution cube back into his hand. Shaking his head, he said, You said that this is your family treasure, but this thing was not created by you. Just because you've had it for a long time, does that mean that the evolution cube belongs to you? This is the legacy of the evolutionary civilization, and you guys also picked it up and used your strength to take it for yourselves. It's not yours in essence, but you call it your family treasure. Also, let me correct you. I did not snatch the evolution cube. You lost it yourselves. I just picked it up and refused to hand it over to others, just like what you did in the past. You shouldn't use morals as an excuse. That's meaningless. Bullsh*T, we've had the evolution cube for so long, and we've long been its owners. Leader Cisco has always been connected to the evolution cube. Of course it's ours. This guard said angrily. What you said makes some sense, but you didn't manage to protect your things and were snatched away by ESGod. I'm not noble enough to return something I picked up. Furthermore, this thing is not the blood and sweat of your civilization, so I don't have any psychological burden. If you guys can snatch it back, I can't deny it. However, without enough strength, anything you say is just empty talk. I gave you a chance, but you didn't dare take it. Han Xiao shook his head. He had never been a kind person, and he had another purpose for coming over this time, which was to solve the hidden danger of the evolution cube once and for all. He wanted to use the situation to pressure Cisco and force him to remove his psychic connection. As for whether it was right or wrong, Cisco had endangered his life many times. At this point, there was no need to dwell on this question. You can leave first. Jed gestured at this agitated guard. Although he was also angry about the loss of his family treasure, he was more realistic. This time, the dynasty was here to show off, and it was impossible for them to make the other party hand over the evolution cube for no reason. Watching this, Heber threw a look at Han Xiao. Being the bad guy, you're not bad either. Let's work together. Han Xiao rolled his eyes secretly. He had no choice but to be a little more arrogant. Sai, a low-key handsome guy like him, was not used to such a style. Chapter 864. The nearby star pupil Protoss fleet urgently gathered on this planet and waited. The border not far away had also increased its defense, guarding against the dynasty's fleet outside the border. After waiting for 2 days, they finally received a report of Cisco's arrival at the border. Your Excellencies, Leader Cisco has arrived at the border and will be here soon. Jed heaved a sigh of relief and forced himself to speak. His expression was slightly dispirited. For the past 2 days, Han Xiao and Heber had been staying in the room. He suggested that everyone should stay in the room, but Han Xiao and Heber did not even bother with him and did not allow him to leave. Jed could only accompany them in the room for 2 days. He was sitting on pins and needles, not daring to sleep. His high-strung nerves increased his mental exhaustion, and his complexion did not look good. To a beyond grade A mere 2 days did not require any rest. High-level life forms had a different sense of time and could react in microseconds. They could also adjust the activity level of their cells. The elites that the two of them brought along and the star pupil holy race guards around them were all calamity-grade supers, so they were not affected much. Only the government emissaries like Jed were a little tired. If they stayed in the room, the pressure that had gathered at this time would dissipate. Therefore, the two of them sat there for 2 days, increasing the pressure on the star pupil Protoss present. After waiting for a while, there was a commotion outside the door. In their perception, a huge energy source was slowly approaching. Heber suddenly opened his eyes and nodded slowly. "He's here." The next moment the door opened and Cisco slowly walked in. Everyone's eyes focused on him. The guards present all heaved a sigh of relief, straightening their backs a little as if they had found their backbone. "Yo, isn't this little Cece? The hero has arrived." Han Shao changed his posture and joked. Cisco glanced at him and walked to the seat opposite the two of them. Jed, who was originally sitting there, hurriedly got up and made way for Cisco to sit down. "Didn't you want to see me? I'm back. What do you want? Just say it." Cisco's tone was solemn. However, the next second, Han Shao suddenly raised his hand, and a mechanical structure covered his arm. Mechanical force flashed, and the machinery continued to expand, turning into a huge palm that pushed forward. The table and sofa in front of him were all pushed away, and the mechanical palm hit Cisco directly, smashing him into the wall. Bang! The whole room shook. "What are you doing?" The situation was so sudden that the guards' expressions changed drastically. They immediately wanted to help their leader. However, at this time, Hela and the rest of the Black Star Guards released their auras toward the surrounding guards. The oppressive aura was filled with warning intent, and the Bloodshed Land Vanguard officials were also glaring at them. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. At this moment, Cisco's serious voice came from below the mechanical palm. "Don't do anything." The mechanical palm was compressed bit by bit and left the wall. At this time, Cisco was completely embedded in the alloy wall, looking a little pathetic. He used his psychic power to pull himself out of the twisted metal wall and stared at Han Shao, not intending to fight back. "You almost killed me. Do you have a problem with me hitting you?" Han Shao narrowed his eyes. "No." Cisco took a deep breath. He knew that this was a show of strength to destroy his prestige, so he had to endure it. He told his angry subordinates not to be rash, got someone to move a new table and chair, and sat down in front of the two of them again. The surrounding star pupil Protoss clenched their fists tightly, their faces sullen. They could understand Cisco's attitude of enduring the humiliation, but they could not help but feel disappointed. On one hand, they were angry at themselves for being unable to do anything, and on the other hand, they were humiliated by the dignity of their race. Although many of the star pupil Protoss present knew that the dynasty was here to hold them accountable, they still imagined that Cisco would be able to handle such a situation while waiting. However, the current situation shattered their fantasy, and they had no choice but to accept reality. Their leader, Cisco, was here to be humiliated this time. After sitting down again, the Red Empire emissary who had been silent all this while finally spoke. "You participated in the attack on the planet Lighthouse Outpost. Of the 6 beyond grade as who escaped, 4 have already been captured. The dynasty wants you and the star pupil Protoss to give an explanation." "What explanation do you want?" Cisco asked with a deep voice. The dynasty emissary tapped on the smooth white bracelet and summoned a virtual screen. On it were the terms of the agreement. "You have to make a formal public apology and sign this compensation agreement to show your sincerity. The details are all inside. If you don't agree, please come with us to the dynasty to be judged or wait for the Arcane Church to ransom you." "Compensation and apology, huh?" Cisco mumbled. He had not been idle these past 2 days and had been thinking about the dynasty's intentions. This was not out of his expectations. The dynasty emissary did not keep it a secret and directly read out all the terms of the agreement. Many of the terms were extremely overboard, and the surrounding star pupil Protoss became angrier and angrier. There were only two choices before Cisco. One was to accept the compensation, and the other was to become a captive. Of course, there was also a third option, which was to resist. However, if he chose the third option, the dynasty would not give him any face at all. The dynasty did not necessarily need that bit of compensation, but they needed the enemy to submit. After listening, Cisco nodded. I accept this agreement and will publicly apologize for this operation. He did not care about the astronomical amount of compensation. He was helping the Arcane Church, and although he failed, the Arcane Church would not let his underlings take the blame. Otherwise, who would help them in the future? Therefore, the compensation would be paid by the Arcane Church, and there was basically no need for the star pupil Protoss to spend money. As for the public apology, it meant that the Arcane Church wanted to see it. This was because the Arcane Church would never apologize to the dynasty, but if they wanted to ransom someone, they had to express their attitude indirectly. The star pupil Protoss's submission was a tactful representation of the Arcane Church's attitude. It could ease the recent conflict to a certain extent, and it would not embarrass Ethereal. It was a disguised compromise. Even if the Arcane Church supported the star pupil Protoss, the Red Empire was also a universal civilization. In a situation where the two sides had conflicts on the surface and private negotiations, the star pupil Protoss had to give an explanation. Only Cisco was clear about this, but the others might not be. In the eyes of the people around, their leader had agreed to such a humiliating condition without saying anything. This made the faces of the star pupil Protoss turn uglier and uglier. The way they looked at Cisco changed from firm to complicated. It looked like Cisco had sold out the interests of his race without hesitation to protect himself. Of course, they knew that this was a huge mistake, but they could not help but have such thoughts. Although they knew that Cisco's choice was not wrong, Jed and the many guards around still felt angry and humiliated. This time, Heber spoke. Cisco, take your people and leave the Shattered Star Ring. You know that the dynasty and us will not sit by and watch you develop. For you, the best choice is to leave this place. One less beyond grade A in the Shattered Star Ring was beneficial to the remaining people. Heber had the same thought as the dynasty, but he shook his head. No matter what difficulties we encounter, as long as we can overcome them, we will not leave our home easily. Humph. Seeing this, Heber did not say anything else. This time, Han Shao knocked on the table and said calmly, "What comes next is our business. You pay the compensation to the dynasty, but you also have to express your gratitude to me, the victim." Cisco turned around and looked at him. "What do you want?" Han Shao smiled. "I want the evolution cube." Everyone was stunned. Cisco was confused. "Didn't you already take it?" "No, you misunderstood me." Han Shao crossed his arms and said calmly, "I want you to remove the psychic connection to the evolution cube and announce to the universe that you have already given the evolution cube to me." Cisco's expression changed. He finally understood what was going on. Black Star, this evil thing, was trying to kill someone's heart. Originally, the star pupil holy race had thought that Black Star had snatched away their race treasure. If they publicly announced that they were giving up the evolution cube and gave it to Black Star, they would not have the right to criticize him. At that time, all of the star pupil holy race members would be silenced, and the anger of the people would be vented on them. Their leader's reputation would plummet. "You be **starred." Cisco clenched his teeth. Han Shao said with a deep voice, "Because of the evolution cube, you have targeted me time and time again. This attack was also caused by the evolution cube. If I don't let you give up on this thing, similar things will happen again in the future. Also, I haven't settled the score with you about the Avitan soul almost bombing Blue Star. Let's watch this video first." As he said that, Han Shao summoned a virtual screen. The video played was the video of the guard named Lalem attacking him 2 days ago. Philip had recorded it long ago. The video ended very quickly, and Cisco's expression was ugly. Han Xiao put away the virtual screen, raised his brows and said, "I did not hold it against a beyond grade A, but I do not wish to hear such nonsense again. Therefore, in order to prevent your people from continuing to think this way, I have decided to use this method to solve this problem once and for all. What do you think?" "What if I don't agree?" Cisco held back his anger. "It's fine if you don't agree." Han Xiao narrowed his eyes and slowly said, "But are you still my opponent now? Have you ever thought about what will happen to the star pupil Protoss without you as their leader?" At this moment, Cisco realized that the black star in front of him was no longer the guy who had fought him to a draw. He immediately thought of Dylan, who had been captured alive by Han Xiao in the blink of an eye. However, he was still unwilling to give up the evolution cube. The sole connection between him and the evolution cube had given him a certain bonus to his psychic strength. Without this universal treasure, his combat power would decrease, and his position in the Arcane Church would also decrease. This time, the dynasty's envoy spoke. "Black Star's intentions are the dynasty's intentions. If you don't agree, you can write it into the compensation agreement." Han Xiaoxin's heart skipped a beat. He had not discussed this matter with the dynasty, but it was only natural that the dynasty's envoy would support it. There might even be the influence of political asset. Hearing this, Psyker clenched his fists and loosened them weakly. His tone was low. "I agree." Bang! A Calamity-grade star pupil Holy Race Calamity grade guard at the side could not hold it in any longer and slammed his fist into the wall, creating a crater. However, the other star pupil Protoss were also trembling in anger, and no one looked at him. Han Xiao and the others simply ignored him. Han Xiao nodded, took out the evolution cube, and let it float in front of everyone. The small silver cube rotated and attracted everyone's attention. Heber's Adam's apple moved imperceptibly, but he did not let his subordinates notice it. "Then, show your sincerity first and remove your psychic connection." Cisco closed his eyes and calmed himself down. He then slowly released his psychic energy to touch the evolution cube and cut off the connection. The next moment, his body trembled, and his brain clearly sensed that the bridge between the evolution cube and him had been cut off. His ability to locate the evolution cube had disappeared. "It's done." Cisco's tone was very low, trying his best to hide his disappointment. Han Xiao took back the evolution cube. A beyond grade A super was very sensitive to energy, and the aura attached to the evolution cube had indeed disappeared. Finally, the hidden danger has been removed. Han Xiaoxin felt relieved. Although the spacetime amber had the same effect, he would have to use the evolution cube at some point, and this would be more effective. However, he was careful and threw the cube to Fu Ding for inspection. Although Fu Ding was only a calamity grade, he was very lucky. "Don't worry, your dynasty also has a beyond grade a psychic, so it will be easy to find out. You don't have to worry about me doing anything." Cisco said, "I have already agreed to your conditions. Is there anything else? If not, please leave the territory of the star pupil Protoss immediately." The dynasty emissary stood up. "Okay, we will not disturb you. Remember, the dynasty will always be watching you. We look forward to your announcement." Cisco clenched his teeth and did not say anything. "Don't blame me." Han Xiao also stood up. "If you fail, you have to pay the price. At least you're still alive." As soon as he said that, Han Xiao suddenly felt that his words were very villainous. However, in the eyes of the star pupil Protoss, he was an out-and-out villain. "I won't always fail," Cisco said with a deep voice. "You won't always be alive either." Heber interrupted and walked out of the room first. The dynasty emissary followed closely behind. With one foot out of the door, Han Xiao looked back at Cisco, who was sitting still, and smiled. Instead of being angry with us here, you should deal with the public opinion first. Cisco did not respond and asked, "How's Dylan? You still have the time to care about others? Looks like your relationship with him is really good." Han Zhao's lips curled up. "Don't worry, he's safe now, very safe." With that, Han Zhao waved his hand and even had the time to say goodbye before leaving. After watching the group disappear from sight, Cisco received a report that Han Zhao and the others had boarded the spaceship and taken off. After sitting in a daze for a while, Cisco looked up and saw that all his people in the room were staring at him. He sighed and stood up. "Tell them to prepare for a government press conference. I will personally attend." Jed hesitated and reminded him. Black Star used virtual technology to invade many media websites and incited public opinion everywhere, spreading unfavorable comments about you. Do you want to deal with it first? No, Black Star will stop once he leaves. Although he's a ruthless person, he won't keep playing tricks like this. Cisco sighed. And when I release the announcement, you'll know that public opinion is nothing. When he thought about the backlash this announcement would cause, Cisco's heart was filled with sorrow. However, the situation was beyond his control, and he had no choice. Even if he asked for help from his family, the Arcane Church, considering the importance of ransoming Psyker, would not start a new conflict with the Imperium over such a small matter as damaging Psyker's reputation. Chapter 865. Under the escort of the Star Pupil God Race Fleet, they left the border and met up with the dynasty's main force. The main force turned around and left under the hostile gaze of the Star Pupil God Race, turning into streams of light and disappearing into the galaxy. The border outpost was far away, and the dynasty emissary turned around to look at the two people beside him, smiling. "Thank you." Cisco was very cooperative, and the operation went smoothly. Heber waved his hands expressionlessly, indicating that this was a small matter. By demonstrating to the other beyond grade as, he could also increase his prestige. Furthermore, the Star Pupil God Race had agreed to pay compensation, so it would definitely be recorded in history. As a peer, he would also leave a new mark in history, which was quite a good reward for him. This time, Cisco has failed. He should be quiet for a long time. Han Zhao smiled. The hidden danger of the evolution cube had finally been removed, and he was in a rather good mood. Yes, Cisco has to deal with the aftermath, deal with the star cluster civilizations competing with them, and develop in a low-key manner. He probably won't do anything for the next 20 to 30 years, the dynasty emissary added. He then looked at his wristband and said, "I'm going back to report to Envoy Zoel. Your Excellencies, let's part ways here." Han Zhao and Heber nodded. After recording the number of this emissary, the two of them returned to the spaceships of their respective organizations and watched the dynasty's main force leave. "I'm leaving too." Heber sent a message to Han Zhao and left with the Bloodshed Lands troop. He was going to continue being a supervisor in the flickering world. The grudge between the two of them had never been resolved, and it would probably be difficult for them to reconcile in the future. Their private relationship was still not good, but after going through this incident together, their relationship as allies had deepened. Han Zhao put away his communicator and ordered Philip, "Speed up the fleet. Let's return to the Black Star Corps headquarters first." Okay, the exhaust flames of the Black Star Corps battleship shone brightly as energy flowed into the engine, increasing its warp speed. It was time to settle the evolutionary share of the civilizations in the Shattered Star Ring this year, and the dynasty would also be sending a new batch of elites to be modified. Han Zhao planned to return to the headquarters to settle these matters before heading to the flickering world to continue exploring. The impact of this incident was very wide. He had made a shocking achievement as a beyond grade A in the universe, which increased his deterrence. If nothing went wrong, there would not be any trouble coming to him for a very long time, which should last until the end of version 3. 0. The only hidden danger in his mind was the problem of God. The coordinates of the World Tree Civilization's area were like a ticking time bomb. The advanced civilizations that had the coordinates at least knew how to test and protect themselves, but God's side could not predict the consequences. No one knew what this guy would do. It was a pity that God had taken advantage of the situation this time and was modified by the evolution energy. Han Xiao knew that if he did not find some helpers, he would not be able to do anything to God. However, to the Red Empire, the Arcane Church was the competitor that they needed to pay attention to. Han Xiao thought that after the Dynasty and Ethereal came to an agreement, they would send people to deal with God. God was not to be trifled with. If they sent too few people, they might not be able to defeat him. If they sent too many people, God would not stay behind to fight. The Dynasty had dealt with God countless times but had never been able to kill him. This time, they probably only wanted to get rid of God's henchmen. Han Xiao thought that he could only act according to the situation. Furthermore, the Dynasty's intelligence showed that God had left this star field through the wormholes in the shattered star ring. There were no sightings yet, so he had probably teleported to the desolate universe belt. Thus, it was useless to deal with God now. He could only wait. As for now, Han Xiao decided to first get through the experience penalty period and increase his level. Only with a stronger foundation would the success rate of his operation be higher. The penalty period is less than half a year away. Soon, Han Xiao was looking forward to it. A few days later, Cisco finally made a public appearance in the race. The moment he appeared, he held a government press conference and personally attended to explain his actions during this period. Due to the recent public opinion, the citizens of the star pupil god race had been waiting anxiously for a long time. Almost every household was waiting in front of their screens, paying attention to the news. Under the gazes of billions of people, time seemed to pass very slowly. Finally, it was time for the live broadcast of the press conference. Everyone's screens flashed, and there was finally a live broadcast. Everyone's attention was highly focused, and their heartstrings tightened. Cisco's figure appeared on the screen. With a heavy and serious expression, he slowly opened his mouth. Dear citizens of the star pupil god race, colleagues in the government, hello, I'm Cisco. Regarding the recent storm, I'm here to give an official explanation and statement. In the past few months, information about me has been circulating in the universe, and I've received everyone's attention. First of all, I would like to express my deepest apologies to everyone. Due to some of my mistakes in decision-making, I've landed myself in a dangerous situation and implicated the race. I'm deeply ashamed of this. This is a stain on my record. A mistake is a mistake, and I won't defend myself. A few days ago, the Red Empire visited and held me accountable. I didn't run away like the false rumors on the internet said, but immediately rushed back and discussed with the emissary of the Red Empire. After a face-to-face discussion, both sides reached a preliminary agreement. Here, on behalf of myself and the Star Pupil God Race civilization, I apologize to the Red Empire for this incident and will fulfill the compensation agreement. The details are as follows. Cisco read the terms of the compensation agreement and said with a deep voice, I'm also very grateful to the other side. On the other hand, I would also like to express my sincere apologies to the victim, Black Star. For this, I am willing to compensate. There's a fact that cannot be ignored. The evolution cube is the legacy of a certain civilization and not the exclusive property of the Star Pupil God race. Due to some unexpected factors, we lost the evolution cube. The one who should be blamed should be God, not Black Star. We've already enjoyed the benefits of the evolution cube. Here, I'll give up the ownership of the evolution cube and give it to Black Star as compensation. My dear citizens, in the past many years, The star pupil god race has achieved brilliant results in terms of economy, culture, and so on. Now we've fallen to a low point. In our culture, after every disaster, new opportunities and resources will be brought. I hope that everyone can uphold this spirit and sincerely cooperate, maintain passion, and overcome the difficulties together. I hope that everyone can understand our decision. I hope that everyone will not forget today's humiliation. Finally, I wish everyone a happy life. As soon as he said that, the screen turned black. Cisco's speech ended, but it caused a strong aftershock in the Star Pupil God Race Society. Countless people were shocked, furious, and in an uproar. A civilization had publicly admitted defeat and lost all faith. Now they even had to pay compensation. Everyone felt humiliated. To the entire Star Pupil God race, this was an unexpected disaster. It was all because of Cisco's mistake. Furthermore, Cisco had actually publicly given up their race treasure and given it to Black Star, the villain who had taken it away from them? In everyone's eyes, this was simply an excuse for not being able to take back the evolution cube. It was like, you took away my thing, and I don't have the ability to take it back, so I don't want it anymore. How shameful! This speech caused a huge uproar. For a time, all the Star Pupil God Race Society were condemning Cisco. The prestige that he had accumulated over the years quickly declined. There were even some extreme and blind people who directly called him the shame of the race. The reaction was extremely intense. In the inner hall of the Cabinet of Secrets, a group of confidants stood in front of Cisco with difficult expressions. Your Excellency Cisco, the public opinion on the internet is not favorable to you. Do you really not need to control it? Psyker shook his head. There's no need for that. This is a humiliation, and the people need a channel to vent their anger. Let them vent and channel the anger in their hearts. When they're done venting, they'll remember my past achievements. When that time comes, all I need to do is to guide the public opinion in secret. This will be very detrimental to your prestige. Someone said worriedly. When something reaches an extreme, it will definitely cause a backlash. Cisco sighed. Whether it's admiration or hatred, when it reaches an extreme, it will start to slide to the other side. When the public opinion reaches the peak, more and more people will speak up for me. This is more deeply rooted in the hearts of the people than simple control. Is this really okay? There's nothing wrong with it. Cisco took a deep breath. Past achievements can't be used as an excuse. Radiance of a person will cast a larger shadow, and the stain will also be magnified. I don't want everyone to sing praises for me. Only by having hate groups as the opposition of the people will I be able to maintain my reputation for a long time. Humiliation can also bring motivation to the people. I'm just afraid that you'll be disappointed in us. A confidant said softly. Cisco was the leader of the Star Pupil Protoss, but after becoming a Beyond Grade A, Cisco himself was no longer a Star Pupil Protoss. This was a potential trust gap, and it was also a shadow in the hearts of some people. Don't worry, I won't forget my mother's race. Cisco shook his head. As a Beyond Grade A, his beliefs would not be shaken so easily. The world is very complicated, I know. Therefore, I will never mistake a one-sided corner for the whole world. The words of a part of the people cannot represent the entire group. In the end, these people who are venting their anger will realize that no matter how they criticize me, I'm still their leader. They have no choice. As for the current public opinion storm, Psyker smiled. Although he was open-minded, there was still a hint of fatigue in his smile. The flames will eventually extinguish, and the storm will eventually stop. Do what we have to do and wait for it to calm down naturally. The Star Pupil Protoss has given in. On the mother planet of the Arcane Church, after Cisco's speech was played on the virtual screen in the conference room, the bishops fell into a short silence. After a long time, a bishop spoke with a low voice. This way, the dynasty's attitude will be better. Since Psyker had cut off his connection with the evolution cube and lost the ability to locate it, the Arcane Church had basically given up on the evolution cube and cut off their last strand of hope. How's the ransom going? The dynasty has only agreed to ransom Mercer and Dylan, and the price is very high. Let's redeem 2 first. This will satisfy our allies and keep their hearts. As for Sagman and Taylor, the dynasty won't let us redeem all of them so quickly. Those allies will understand. Where's Ninja? He has already escaped the shattered star ring through the spy's secret star cluster and will be back soon. Luckily, the 10,000 deity scepter is with him. Speaking of this, the bishops secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Of the 6 beyond grade as they had sent out, 4 were captured, 1 had nowhere to run, and only 1 managed to escape back to the central galaxy. Coincidentally, it was this person who managed to escape with the 10,000 deity scepter. In the eyes of these upper echelons, the 10,000 deity scepter was more important than the beyond grade as themselves. In the long years, there would always be new beyond grade as, and there might only be one universal treasure. The most important 10,000 deity scepter was not lost. It was truly fortunate. At the same time, outside the shattered star ring, somewhere in the desolate universe belt, due to the Red Empire's thorough search of the shattered star ring, the Arcane Church's spies could only build their Stargate station in the desolate universe belt. A spaceship was rushing toward the Stargate station marked on the star map. The person on the spaceship was Ninja, the only one who managed to escape. Very soon, the Stargate station appeared in his vision, and Ninja finally heaved a sigh of relief. After passing through this military Stargate, he would be able to cross a few star fields and return to the central galaxy. After escaping for so long, he could no longer endure such a life. At this moment, the spaceship shook violently. The engine died, and it came to an abrupt stop. What's going on? Ninja was shocked and hurriedly operated the spaceship. However, all his orders were useless, and the spaceship did not respond at all. At this time, the spaceship suddenly shook. Rumble. A massive external force pressed down from all directions, instantly turning the spaceship into a pile of scrap metal, like a crumpled ball of paper. Bang! A spherical white shield pierced through the armor and shot out from the wreckage of the spaceship. Ninja was covered in a magic shield, and he held onto the 10,000 deity scepter that was wrapped in the spacetime amber. He looked around cautiously, and his instincts were warning him. To think that he would be attacked here. Could it be that the dynasty discovered the Stargate station and set up an ambush? At this time, a voice sounded in his mind. It's not easy to find you, divine spell Ninja. Hand over the 10,000 deity scepter, and I can let you go. Along with the voice, the surrounding space lit up with countless hyperdrive flashes. Figures appeared one after another, and their numbers increased rapidly, filling up the entire area. Countless pairs of emotionless electronic eyes stared at Ninja with a scarlet glow. Right in front of him was a tall figure covered in lightning. His face was lifelike, and the patterns on his body showed that this was a mechanical shell. The moment he saw this person, Ninja's expression changed drastically. Mecha Empire. Chapter 866. Fresh blood flowed and formed a few red snakes on the metal floor, forming a puddle of blood. Ninja was lying on the ground with wounds all over his body. Beneath him was a huge mechanical suction cup that was glowing with a faint blue light. The suction force from the suction force was holding him down. His limbs and torso were shackled by heavy black alloy rings. These were some kind of special mechanical shackles that had an extremely strong energy interference field. They even used subspace conversion technology to transfer the energy released by the target, which had a certain anti-magic effect on mages. At the same time, 4 pipes extended from the metal floor on both sides of Ninja and pierced into his spine. Nanites were injected into them, disrupting his energy flow and messing up his nerves, affecting his control of his body. Ninja could only barely raise his head. His blurry vision was parallel to the ground, and all he could see were mechanical limbs. Mechanical soldiers were surrounding him. Both parties were currently on the surface of a metal fortress. This was a mechanical war fortress brought by the Mecha Empire, and there were traces of battle and broken mechanical parts all over the place. The surrounding space was forcefully stabilized by the Mecha Empire's stabilizing device, and he had even set up a magic interference device to disable Ninja's teleportation. Ninja had nowhere to run and could only fight. However, other than the Mecha Empire's Lord's Descent avatar, there were also 4 apostle weapons in this long-range mechanical army. Ninja was not a match for this long-range mechanical army, and he was heavily injured in a one-on-one a group fight. The 10,000 deity scepter had already fallen into the hands of the Mecha Empire. I was waiting for you to use the 10,000 deity scepter, but you never did. So this is the reason the Mecha Empire's avatar held the amber that sealed the 10,000 deity scepter and carefully touched it. Feeling the special energy insulation properties of the spacetime amber, he clicked his tongue in wonder. You dare to snatch the 10,000 deity scepter? Manison, aren't you afraid of the Arcane Church's wrath? Ninja gritted his teeth. Don't misunderstand. I'm not interested in the 10,000 deity scepter. I'm just doing the Radiant Federation a small favor. The Mecha Empire glanced at Ninja and waved to the side. A bright silver mechanical life apostle weapon walked over. Its body was as smooth as a mirror, without any mechanical structure. The apostle weapon squatted down and stabbed its fingers into Ninja's back. Then, its entire body turned into liquid and flowed into Ninja's body through the wound. The next moment, the Mecha Empire released the restraints on Ninja's body. However, the apostle weapon in Ninja's body also suppressed his ability to control his body. He could only glare at the Mecha Empire. What do you want to do to me? The Radiant Federation asked me to kill you and destroy the evidence, but your body is still useful to me. The Mecha Empire tossed out a compressed orb and turned it into a restraining pod, trapping Nika inside. After confirming that Ninja could not escape, the Mecha Empire turned around and continued to observe the amber that sealed the 10,000 deity scepter. Oh, this is a very special new material. Since Black Star knows how to create it, I'll have to find an opportunity to come into contact with it in the future. Lost contact? Explain to me, what do you mean by lost contact? The upper echelons of the Arcane Church received the news very quickly. Ninja, who was supposed to return to the central galaxy through the Stargate, had actually lost contact not long ago. This shocked the bishops. They thought that Ninja was already out of danger and would be able to successfully bring the 10,000 deity scepter back. They did not expect an accident to happen just as the dust was about to settle. Now that they could not contact Ninja, the worst outcome would be that he was attacked and killed. However, even if he was attacked, Ninja should have been able to send back news. The Stargate monitoring station of the Arcane Church did not report any abnormalities either. There was only one explanation for this situation. There was a virtual mechanic among the attackers who had tampered with the data and blocked the communication. The bishops immediately thought of the most suspicious person, Black Star. However, Han Shao had just visited the star pupil Protoss not long ago and was currently on his way back to the headquarters. He had an alibi, but they could not rule out the possibility that Han Shao had used a long-range force to complete the attack. If Black Star is the culprit, could it be that the Red Empire is behind this? The dynasty has already captured 4 of us and forced Cisco to publicly apologize. Are they still not satisfied? Someone asked. The possibility is not high. Both sides are currently negotiating for the ransom and have already reached a preliminary agreement. The dynasty is very clear that continuing to chase after us will not necessarily bring them any benefit. If they snatch the 10,000 deity scepter, they will force us to flip the table, which is probably not worth it for them. Then, could it be that Black Star is plotting for the 10,000 deity scepter and acted on his own accord? Thinking about it, this will do more harm than good to Black Star. He obtained a huge reward this time, so there is no need for him to take the risk to snatch the 10,000 deity scepter. Even if he snatches it, he won't dare use it, and it will only bring him trouble. The only way is to hand it over to the dynasty. However, the personality Black Star has shown so far shows that he is not someone who likes to take risks. Furthermore, his cooperation with the dynasty is still in the honeymoon stage, so he will not do such a risky thing behind the dynasty's back. The bishops frowned. All the signs indicated that this was not an operation between the dynasty and Black Star. Could it be that the organizations in the dark were trying to take advantage of the situation? To be able to intercept Ninja, two prerequisites had to be met. First, they had to have a strong intelligence network in the Shattered Star Ring to be able to lock onto Ninja's whereabouts. Second, they had to have a Beyond Grade A combatant and a Beyond Grade A virtual mechanic to be able to defeat Ninja silently. After thinking about it, another target that met these two prerequisites appeared in their mind. The bishops were shocked. Could it be the Radiant Federation? The Shattered Star Ring was the territory of the Radiant Federation. Although the Radiant Federation did not seem to care much about this star field, their intelligence network was definitely not to be underestimated. They had been operating in this star field for many years, and although they did not reveal themselves, their intelligence network was very likely to exceed that of the Red Empire, which had only been in the game for a few years. The Red Empire did not discover Ninja's whereabouts, but the Radiant Federation did. This made sense. The bishops' faces were pale. The more they thought about it, the more suspicious they felt the Radiant Federation was. Back then, when they lent the multidimensional sky-opening transportation device, those bastards had the intention of taking advantage of the situation. This time, the Arcane Church had lost many Beyond Grade A combatants, and their relationship with the Red Empire was strained. To the Radiant Federation, this was the best opportunity to take action. Only then did the bishops realize that the troops they had sent this time had been completely wiped out. A mouthful of blood was stuck in their throats, and they almost spat it out. Radiant Federation, UF***. This time, a virtual screen appeared on the conference table, showing the Pope's order. Stabilize the Red Empire first, redeem our Beyond Grade A allies. Then negotiate with the Radiant Federation. The bishops looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with helplessness and depression. Yesterday they thought that the 10,000 deity scepter was going to be returned, but today they received bad news. This feeling of falling from heaven to hell made them feel terrible. All their efforts were for naught. Without evidence, the Radiant Federation would not admit it. The other party was also an organization of the same level, so they would not be threatened and would not be afraid of fighting head-on. This was the only thing they could do now. After stabilizing the Empire, they would fight with the Radiant Federation. On the mother planet of the Radiant Federation, President Bader put down the communicator, nodded and smiled at the elders present. Manison has succeeded. The 10,000 deity scepter is now ours. Hearing this, everyone in the room revealed a triumphant smile. The chief elder tapped his walking stick and praised, as expected of one of the strongest ancient ones. The Mecha Empire is still as reliable as ever. Bader nodded with a smile. The Mecha Empire had always been an important ally of his. Not only was the strength of the Mecha Empire terrifying, but it was also because the long-range troops of the Mecha Empire could appear and disappear unpredictably, allowing them to complete many secret operations. The Arcane Church might suspect the Empire, or they might guess that we did it, but they have no evidence. Plus, they will not announce the news of the 10,000 deity scepter being stolen to the outside world. According to the intelligence, the way to use the 10,000 deity scepter is very simple. It's just that we don't have the corresponding technology to repair it. However, it can also be used as a trump card with limited uses. It's fatal to beyond grade as cough cough. As long as we don't use it in front of Black Star, it'll be fine. Although we might have angered the Arcane Church, we've profited greatly by obtaining the 10,000 deity scepter this time. Not only did we take away the trump card of the Arcane Church against Beyond Grade as, this is also a bargaining chip against the interests of the Arcane Church. Many of the elders had smiles on their faces as they discussed with each other. The Mecha Empire said that the 10,000 deity scepter was sealed by a special material. When he returns, I'll get the Research Institute to crack it. Bader's tone had a calm smile. He did not take the so-called seal to heart. Chapter 867. Han Xiao knew nothing about the little secret between the Radiant Federation and the Arcane Church. After leaving the star system of the star pupil Protoss, Han Xiao's fleet did not stop and returned to the Black Star Corps headquarters. During the previous Tyrant's party, Han Xiao had signed a cooperation agreement with a large number of local civilizations in the Shattered Star Ring. He had publicly sold the slots to use the Evolution Cube in exchange for cooperation and channels. This was the first year of cooperation. Because Han Xiao would be staying in the Shattered Star Ring for this period of time, he was prepared to settle the purchase of the slots by the various civilizations. In the past year, the various civilizations had already gone through a series of internal selections and confirmed the list of elites who would accept the evolution. They had been waiting for this day. After receiving the notice, these teams that had been on standby for a long time all moved out. The elites of many civilizations gathered at the Black Star Corps headquarters. Using the Evolution Cube as a bridge, establishing relationships with many star cluster and star system civilizations in the Shattered Star Ring was a crucial step in the expansion of the Black Star Corps. In Han Zhao's blueprint, maintaining this cooperation network for a long time would allow the Black Star Corps to be the intermediary for the interests of the entire star field. At that time, the power and influence of the Black Star Corps would truly cover the entire star field. Thus, for the first year of cooperation, Han Xiao was still very concerned. Furthermore, there was an additional benefit. The people selected by these civilizations were all elites, and there would definitely be some famous characters or protagonists among them. Letting these people take the initiative to gather here would be much more efficient than searching for them himself. This can be considered as another way of saying that all the heroes in the world are in my hands. Han Xiao thought to himself. Spaceships of various styles landed at the Black Star Corps headquarters. The hatch opened, and the elites of various races walked out. Under the guidance of the reception robots, they headed to the accommodation area. The dock was noisy. These elites were all outstanding people in different positions in their respective civilizations. The most important ones were the calamity grades of their civilizations, the elite officers, the supers with potential, and the researchers. When they disembarked, they sized each other up with curiosity and caution in their eyes. This is the legendary Black Star Corps. Pamela's 3 large, watery eyes were wide open as she curiously observed her surroundings. She came from a cosmic system state plant-based civilization. Her race was called the Flower Spirit Race. Her body had the characteristics of a half-plant. Her skin was covered with a layer of green leaf-like epidermis, and she emitted a strange fragrance. In the culture of the flower spirits, everyone had a different fragrance, just like how a human's fingerprints differed. Body fragrance, appearance, and figure were all part of the aesthetic standards of the flower spirit. According to the aesthetic standards of the flower spirit race, Pamela was a rare beauty. At the same time, she was also a research elite who had undergone the evolution this time. Just as Pamela and the others were observing the docks, a small floating robot flew in front of them and spoke in Philip's voice. "Welcome to the Black Star Corps, hum. The Corps Commander is still on the way, so I will arrange your accommodations. I will be by your side during this period of time. If you have any needs, just look for me, hum." Understood. The leader of the flower sprites was a calamity grade, and he nodded calmly. "Come with me." The reception robot flew a circle around the crowd and then led the way. The group followed behind, looking left and right while whispering to each other. "People from many civilizations are here. I even saw a star cluster civilization just now. They're all familiar people from other civilizations. I don't know them. I've only seen them on TV occasionally. They're all very powerful people. Those who came are all elites of various races. What a grand occasion. Should we go and visit the others later? This is a rare opportunity to make friends." The reception robot heard the discussion behind and turned around. "During this period of time, we will take you on a tour of the headquarters and host a banquet. We will provide a platform for you to interact with each other, so you don't have to worry about not having a chance. It's a bit like the Tyrant's Party, but the people participating have changed from 1 or 2 representatives to a large number of elites." The calamity grade leading the group seemed to have understood something. Pamela hesitated for a moment before asking, Then, will we have a chance to interact with His Excellency Black Star?" "There will be. After the evolution, the Army Commander will host a new banquet to celebrate. At that time, if you're willing to stay and participate, you will be able to interact with the Army Commander," the reception robot said with a smile. "Then, that's great." Pamela's face turned green. This was a sign of blushing in the flower spirit race. Her companion beside her teased, "Yo, you're shy because you're about to meet your idol?" Pamela did not say anything. Her face was so green that it almost turned blue. Every Beyond Grade A had admirers in the universe. Even a notorious thug like Yes God was worshipped by countless criminals. Black Star's deeds were spread throughout the universe. As a native of a planet, he had built the current Black Star Corps from scratch and single-handedly changed the fate of his mother planet. He had also done many shocking things, and the speed of his rise was shocking. Such a legendary experience had garnered him a large number of admirers in the Shattered Star Ring. Pamela was one of Han Zhao's admirers, and was convinced by Han Zhao's deeds. "I wonder what kind of spouse His Excellency Black Star likes." Pamela was a little lost in thought. Hey, are you serious? Do you know about reproductive isolation?" Her companion was shocked. "I'm a biological genetic engineer. Do I need you to remind me?" Pamela was helpless. The calamity grade leading the team frowned, turned around and shouted, "Don't forget what we're here for. Don't anger His Excellency Black Star." "Can't I even look forward to it?" Pamela said with annoyance. What she did not know was that the reception robot had already recorded her words and uploaded them to Sylvia's file. Sylvia, who was handling official business in her office, received the message and snorted. The 237th one. As she spoke, she made a mark on Pamela's information and threw it into a file called Banquet Seating Arrangements, Corner List. Before the date set by Han Zhao, all the elites of the various civilizations had arrived. Other than Klent, the other star cluster civilizations of the Shattered Star Ring were all present. Not only the local organizations of the Shattered Star Ring, but the Red Empire had also sent a new batch of elite. While waiting, these organizations did not stay idle. Using this rare opportunity to meet, the elites of the various civilizations visited and befriended each other. These elites could all see that Han Zhao was making the best use of everything. In the name of cooperation with the Evolution Cube, he was creating a banquet for the high-level organizations of the Shattered Star Ring to make friends. In other words, he was indirectly stealing the tyrant's business and giving this banquet extra value. He intended to create his own tyrant's party and expand his own influence. Although they understood this, the elites of these civilizations did not have any objections. They were also happy to interact with the elites of the other races. As for the competition between Black Star and the tyrant, they did not dare to express their opinions. Neither side was easy to provoke, so they might as well blend in and observe the situation. They would just obediently enjoy the show. A few days later, Han Shao finally returned to the headquarters. After resting for a few hours, he informed everyone to gather for the official evolution ceremony. As groups of people gathered, the bright hall of the headquarters quickly became crowded. When Reynold received the news, he brought the mechanics of the logistics department to widen the hall on the spot. Only then would it not be overcrowded. The space fluctuated slightly, and Han Shao walked out of the void dimension and hovered above everyone's heads. The evolution cube spun slowly beside him. Everyone looked up at Han Shao, who was in midair. There was a slight commotion in the crowd, and whispers could be heard. Black Star is here. This is the first time I've seen a Beyond Grade A up close. The energy in his body is so terrifying. Just sensing it makes me sweat. That's the evolution cube. Not long ago, Cisco announced that he would give up the rights to this universal treasure. Such a small thing is the source of the recent storm. Several Beyond Grade as of the Arcane Church were affected because of it. How terrifying! Black Star does indeed have the ability to protect this universal treasure. A year ago, I thought that his evolution cube would be taken away very quickly. I guessed wrong. The elites of the various races had respect in their eyes. No matter how arrogant they were normally, they kept their usual expressions. In front of Han Shao, they did not have the confidence to be arrogant. Before Han Zhao's rise, other than Purple Crystal, all the star cluster civilizations present had thoughts of suppressing Han Shao. When it came to the tyrant's gathering, they had no choice but to lower their heads and seek cooperation. However, because Han Shao was still a new Beyond Grade A with an unstable foundation, their thoughts of suppressing him had not completely disappeared. However, the recent events had proven Black Star's strength. This battle record had solidified Han Zhao's position in the universe and also dispelled the last trace of hostility these star cluster civilizations had. They had completely given up on suppressing Han Shao. Now that Black Star had completely risen, their little tricks were useless. Looking at the respectful and worshipful expressions of the people below, Han Shao nodded in his mind. The influence brought about by the recent storm had pushed forward the plan of forming an alliance of interests in the Pan-Star field. This made the cooperation of these organizations extremely enthusiastic, saving many years of accumulation for this plan. Therefore, although this was the first year of cooperation, a strong foundation had already been laid. On the way back, Han Shao had already taken a look at the list of all the elite. As expected, there were quite a few famous people from the various civilizations in his previous life. However, now was not the time to interact with them. After completing the evolution, Han Shao planned to properly get close to these old acquaintances at the specially organized celebration banquet. These people most likely had side quests on them that he might not need but would be very useful to the players. Simply put, they were a group of walking fertilizers. All kinds of thoughts flashed through his mind. Han Shao looked around and smiled playfully. Before we begin, there's one more thing to do. Heber, stop hiding. I know you're here too. As soon as this was said, everyone present was shocked. They looked around but did not see Heber. The tyrant is here too. The crowd was in an uproar, but no one walked out. Seeing this, Han Shao raised his brows and continued. Stop lying to yourself. I already see you. Do you want to come out yourself, or do you want me to drag you out? That's very embarrassing. Everyone was shocked, and the uproar grew bigger and bigger. However, they still did not see anyone. Han Shao narrowed his eyes and looked around. Suddenly, his tone relaxed and he laughed. Hee, looks like Heber didn't sneak in. Then we can begin. Hearing this, everyone's expression froze. He was actually joking. Countless people's mouths twitched. Is it really good to tease the tyrant like this? He's even guarding against him sneaking in. He's a beyond grade A after all. How could he do such a tasteless thing, right? Maybe Black Star and the tyrant have a good relationship, so he's teasing him. Everyone could only comfort themselves like this and pretend that they did not hear anything. Han Xiao activated the evolution cube. With a thought, the black evolution energy gushed out and quickly covered the entire place. The elites present held their breaths and turned into black cocoons. Done. Han Xiao clapped his hands and instructed Philip, monitor their evolution. Remember to invite them to stay and participate in the banquet. Got it. Han Xiao did not want to wait. He casually put away the evolution cube, left the hall full of black cocoons, and headed to his own room. He was going to change his attire and wait for the banquet. On the way, Han Xiao browsed the forums. The Arcane Church incident had come to an end, and the long-term benefits he had obtained from this incident would slowly manifest over time. For example, Uranril's appreciation and the dynasty's attention. The dust had settled, and the remaining matters were between the Red Empire and the Arcane Church. There was no need for him to be concerned. In the short term, there would not be any trouble coming to him, so Han Xiao had the time to think about the situation of the players. From the perspective of the players, it had been 1.5 years since the start of version 3.0. They had passed the early stage and entered the middle stage. In the past 1.5 years, the players had experienced major events such as the Secret War, the Crimson Tide, the rise of Black Star, the exploration of the Flickering World, and the Battle of Planet Lighthouse. There were also countless side quests. After experiencing such a rich storyline, players who had reached the max level of 120 had already appeared. Gradually, more and more players would reach the max level of version 3.0. In the middle of every version, news of the new Pro League would be released. There was still a long time before the start of this Pro League, so the players still had plenty of time to level up, learn skills, and change equipment. However, on the forums, the Pro League officials had already started their preparations and announced it widely, attracting a new round of attention from the players. In Han Zhao's memory, the Pro League in version 3.0 was especially exciting. The players in this version all had grade B strength, and the mechanic class had also slowly risen since version 3.0. A large number of new pro players had appeared in this version, including Maple Moon. Many new pro players had shown their talents and displayed their talents, completing a change in the Pro League. The ratio of mechanics in the Shattered Star Ring was the highest among all the star field. Furthermore, the Black Star Army sold a large number of machines and blueprints. Coupled with the version advantage, Han Xiao believed that the mechanics of the Shattered Star Ring would shine brightly in this Pro League. To him, the benefit was that it would attract more new mechanics and more old players to create Smurfs of the mechanic class. Then, as a mechanic instructor, he would be able to earn more money. What a pity! 3 versions have passed in the blink of an eye. The good days are almost over. Han Xiao shook his head and sighed. In his previous life, among the various versions that the players had experienced, version 3.0 was a publicly recognized watershed. It meant that the players had passed the early stages and officially entered the middle stage of the universe. After that, the influence of the players began to truly become prominent, and their influence continued to expand. Cancer of the Universe and the Fourth Calamity were the infamous names that the players had made in the middle stages of version 3.0. This was also the source of Han Zhao's psychological trauma. As for now, the players were in a period of transformation. After this version, the players' strength would exceed the critical point, and they would be able to do more and more things. They would be more and more inclined to the chaotic side of things. This was an unavoidable historical process. Version 3.0 was the last stage that the players could easily control. Therefore, Han Xiao placed his bet on the flickering world. The faction war in the next version might be able to inject new vitality into the Black Star core and bring about further opportunities. Just as Han Xiao was holding the evolution feast, Heber, who was far away in another star cluster, also received the news. As a competitor, he had been paying attention to every move of the Black Star core. Heber also discovered Han Xiao's sinister intentions. Black Star is using the opportunity of the evolution cube to build a communication platform for the advanced organizations. He wants to snatch the influence of my tyrant's party so that he can have more say in the Shattered Star Ring. After reading the report, Heber was furious. The tyrant's party was the product of his many years of operation, and Han Xiao had come out to compete with him. He was furious, but there was nothing he could do to stop it. When he learned that Han Xiao had ridiculed him in front of the elites of various civilizations, Heber finally exploded. Damn it, why? Are we that close? How dare you ridicule me in public and tarnish my heroic image? You're full of malice. You're going too far. Sooner or later, I'll beat you until you can't take care of yourself. Chapter 868. Everyone's evolution time was different. The black cocoons in the hall cracked one after another, and everyone recovered from their daze, feeling the changes in their bodies. The improvement brought by the evolution cube was a one-time thing. These people without an interface were not like the players, who were not used to the obvious increase in level. The way they increased their strength was through the accumulation of training over a long period of time. Usually, they would only have a one-time improvement when they broke through. Therefore, most of the people present were very satisfied with the effects of the evolution cube, especially the calamity grade supers. The stronger their bodies were, the better the effects of the evolution cube. Some calamity grades who were limited by their potential and could not advance even an inch all year round benefited greatly. What a novel experience! Pamela felt the changes in her body with amazement. As a biological genetic engineer, she felt it even more deeply. This is a pure evolution on the genetic level. It's not a genetic mutation induced by the environment but an optimization of the original racial characteristics, amplifying the advantages of the genes. It's like some kind of genetic catalyst. If there were no side effects, it would be too scary. It's almost perfect. I don't know what the source of this power is. It's like a god. The state of the cells seems to have been exposed to some kind of radiation. Could the nature of the evolution energy be a special kind of radiation? Pamela's professional habit came online, and she could not help but want to dive into the laboratory to study it. This time, the reception robot that was guarding at the side came up and said, "Congratulations, everyone. In order to celebrate your evolution, the Black Star Corps will be holding a banquet tomorrow. The Army Commander and all the officers will be present. Everyone is welcome, All the races that had completed their evolution also received invitations from other reception robots. The captain of the flower sprites suppressed his excitement and nodded. Okay, we'll be there. The invitations have been sent to everyone. The time and location are written on it. I'll remind everyone when the time comes. Also, remember to wear formal attire tomorrow. Got it. Everyone nodded. The purpose of this trip was completed, and everyone was in a good mood. Basically, all the elites of the civilizations had accepted the invitation and stayed to attend the banquet. The banquet was the next day, and everyone returned to their accommodation. After resting for a day, these elites took off their galactic armor and combat suits the next day and changed into formal attire of their respective civilizations before heading to the banquet. On the other side, in the commander's room, Han Xiao had also changed his clothes and was looking at himself in the mirror. The man in the mirror was tall and straight. He wore a necklace of compressed orbs around his neck and a thick black cloak with white edges draped over his shoulders. The back of the cloak was embroidered with the emblem of the Black Star Corps. The inner lining was dark red, and the material was the fur of some rare beast. There were 3 inverted triangle-shaped silver magnetic buttons on the collar of the cloak. The lower hem of the cloak reached his calves and could be closed like a curtain to wrap around his body. He wore a double-breasted black shirt with gorgeous patterns embroidered on it, and matching pants. I've always wanted to know who designed this suit. Do you think I'm a crow? Han Xiao couldn't help but complain. I designed it according to your usual preferences, hum. It seems that the big data collection algorithm needs to be updated, Han Xiao muttered to himself. After washing his face, Han Xiao pushed open the door. Outside the door stood a group of senior officers. They had all changed into formal attire and were waiting for him to set off together. Han Xiao looked around and took in everyone's attire. Most of the people were wearing the Black Star Corps uniform. Herluz, Reynold, and many other Black Star Guards were wearing the same. Lagi was wearing a white mage robe and had the demeanor of a secret magic master. Tomar was also brought along by Lagi. He was wearing a secret blue mage robe and looked like a decent secret magic master. Hardaway was wearing casual clothes that looked like a suit. His muscles were almost bursting out of his clothes. He looked very much like the Bloodshed Land. Sylvia took off her armor and wore a purple dress. She had a ponytail and wore a pair of earrings. She also had light makeup on her face and looked much more mature. As an officer who often dealt with outsiders, she was very familiar with such situations. Aurora also wore a white dress. She was not as mature as Sylvia but looked more delicate. Hela was wearing a custom-made red Black Star Guards captain uniform. It was a little tight and showed off her stunning figure. She did not like to wear dresses, and her temperament was as cold and capable as usual. Fu Ding was wearing a gorgeous blue robe, which was similar to what he wore when he was on tour. He had an extremely friendly smile on his face. Han Xiao looked at everyone with interest and said, "You guys look good. I haven't worn it for a long time. It's a little awkward." Fu Ding pulled at his collar and said helplessly. Because Han Xiao did not usually participate in such events, they rarely saw each other in formal attire. Hela frowned and said, "You know I'm not interested in such occasions. If you have time to attend banquets, you might as well train. You can't just focus on training. You have to relax occasionally." Han Xiao waved his hands with a smile. "I've been dealing with the Arcane Church recently, and I'm very tense. Now that the problem has been solved, I can finally relax. Don't think about training. I don't like to communicate with strangers." Hela shook her head. These people are the elites of their respective races. They're all powerful people. If you get to know them, you might be able to spar with them in the future. That's not a bad idea. Hela's eyes flickered. Han Xiao and the others chatted as they arrived at the banquet hall. The place was already crowded with people, and it was extremely lively. The banquet hall was a special banquet hall, and it was decorated magnificently. Food was indispensable to the banquet. Countless delicacies of different colors were served on the long tables and floating mechanical trays. The food was very complicated and catered to the tastes of different races. The elites of the various races attended the banquet in splendid attire. The dressing styles of different civilizations were dazzling, fully demonstrating the diversity of the galactic society. Han Xiao walked into the hall with his people and immediately attracted everyone's attention. "Ahem, on behalf of the Black Star Corps, I welcome everyone to this banquet." After clearing his throat, Han Xiao spoke with a smile. As the host of the banquet, he naturally had to say a few words to signal the start of the banquet. He was very familiar with this. After the introductory words, the atmosphere of the banquet hall became much more lively. Many people took the initiative to chat with Han Xiao. The reason most of them stayed was to communicate with Han Xiao. Normally, they would not have the means to come into contact with beyond grade as. Very soon, Han Xiao was surrounded by a circle of people. With a smile on his face, he patiently chatted with the guests while sizing them up. In just a short while, he saw many old acquaintances from his previous life. They were all famous people that the players had met in the various regions of the Shattered Star Ring during their adventures in his previous life. Some were very cheerful and talkative, some wore hooded cloaks as if they wanted to hide themselves, and some talked to themselves in a very neurotic manner. Their styles were very different. Although these famous people were no longer qualified in front of him, in the eyes of the players, they were still big shots and full of personality. Han Xiao memorized all the contact details of these people who came up to chat with him. These elites, on the other hand, did not expect a beyond grade A to be so friendly and were flattered. Collecting the contact details of these famous people was equivalent to collecting the nodes of the storyline for Han Xiao. Apart from that, these elites all held quite a bit of power in their respective civilizations, which could be considered a very good source of income. Just as they were chatting happily, Han Xiao heard someone call out to him from behind with a shy tone. "Your Excellency Black Star, I'm Pamela of the Flower Sprite race, a genetic engineer." Han Xiao turned around, smiled, and said, "What's the matter? I am your admirer. I would like to get to know you. Can you accept my communicator number?" Pamela's eyes were filled with excitement. She watched from the side for a while, and seeing that Han Xiao did not reject her, she mustered up the courage to talk to him and exchange contact details. Noticing Pamela's impure gaze, Han Xiao could not help but laugh. "Am I being hit on by someone of the opposite sex? How rare. Alright, give me your contact details." Han Xiao did not reject. A genetic engineer was quite worth making friends with. Although these elites would not change jobs, he might encounter some special situations in the future that he could ask for their help. "Thank you." After exchanging contact details, Pamela looked as though she had received an autograph from her idol. Her face was filled with excitement, and she held the communicator close to her chest as if it was some kind of treasure. Not far away, Sylvia glanced over and snorted. "Humph, love-struck fool." The banquet went on for a while, and the guests became more and more immersed in the atmosphere, becoming more natural. Batch after batch of guests exchanged contact details with Han Xiao and left in satisfaction. Han Xiao finally had some free time, and he let out a sigh of relief. He picked up a glass of sparkling alcohol that was gradually turning blue from the floating tray in front of him and drank half of it in one gulp to moisten his throat. The refreshing and spicy alcohol flowed down his throat, and a sweet aftertaste surged up. Han Xiao felt refreshed, and he let out a sigh of relief. He walked to a corner and slowly drank his alcohol, his gaze sweeping across the entire hall. After so many years of operation, the Black Star Core had finally reached its current state. Han Xiaoxin could not help but feel emotional. "What are you feeling emotional about?" Hella walked over with a glass of fiery red alcohol. "How do you know I'm feeling emotional?" Han Xiao raised his eyebrows. "I've known you for so long, how can I not know you? Just by looking at your eyes, I know what you're thinking about," Hella said lightly. "Speaking of which, I remember now. 20 years ago, when I first lost my memory, the first friend I made was you. We were the first to meet. Yeah, so many years have passed in the blink of an eye." Hella followed Han Zhao's gaze and looked at the banquet. She slowly said, "Back then, I was struggling in despair. I never thought that I would one day step into the universe and have a future like this. Now that I think about my experience with Blue Star, it feels like a lifetime ago. Back then, I endured in the underground base for half a year. Luckily, you would leave the base every once in a while, or else I would never have been able to escape. It's good that you know." Hella's lips curled up slightly. Thinking about the memories they shared, she felt inexplicably happy. Han Xiao laughed, then stopped smiling and shook his head. After that, many things happened. You felt that you owed me a favor, so you chose to fight for me. However, your ability is not limited to that. You have the potential to become a beyond grade A. Sooner or later, you will obtain this power. When that time comes, will you still fight alongside me? Hela hesitated for a while before shaking her head. I don't know. An honest answer. Promises are the most unreliable things. Who can say for sure what the future will be? Han Xiao shrugged and raised his glass. At least you're still standing by my side. To our friendship, let's toast? You sound so old-fashioned. Please, we're already more than 40 years old, although according to our lifespans, we're still kids. You're the one who's a kid. Hela's expression was a little disgusted, but there was a smile on her face. She raised her glass and clinked it with Han Zhao's. Cheers. Ding. With the wine cup between their lips, they each took a sip of wine. Han Xiao smacked his lips, and just as he was about to say something, a guest came over. It seemed like he wanted to talk, but there was a hesitant look on his face. Seeing someone approach, the two stopped chatting, and Han Xiao took the initiative to ask, "What's the matter?" "Your Excellency Black Star, I'm a member of the Gyulul civilization, Cecilin. I have something to discuss with you privately." Gyulul civilization? Han Xiao searched for information on the quantum network. This was a star system civilization from another star cluster. It seemed like they had been in a state of internal strife for a long time. The internal conflict was extremely serious, to the point of military division. This Cecilin was a calamity-grade elite of the current ruling party of the Gyulul civilization. Not only was he one of the strongest guardians of the civilization, he was also a commander of the army. "What do you want to discuss with me privately?" Han Xiao raised his brows. "Can't we talk here?" Cecilin shook his head. "It's not suitable to talk about it in public." "Then at least tell me why you're here." Cecilin paused for a moment before saying with a deep voice, "This is a request. Please believe me, I'm sincere." Han Xiao stroked his chin and smelled the scent of a mission. "Since it's a mission that came knocking on my door, there's no harm in listening," Han Xiao thought. With that thought, Han Xiao passed the glass to Hela and walked toward the side door of the banquet hall. There was a private room in the hallway of the side door used for discussions. "Then come with me." Chapter 869. The two of them left through the side door of the venue and entered the reception room in the corridor. Philip closed the door. The soundproofing here was very good, and the noise of the banquet outside was blocked out. The two of them sat opposite each other. With a snap of his fingers, Han Xiao asked the simulated mechanical waiter in the room to pour 2 glasses of amber wine and a few ice cubes into them, placing them on the short table in front of the two of them. "You can speak now." Han Xiao swirled the wine in his glass, and the fragrant wine flowed out. He was now a big shot in the Shattered Star Ring, and with his current position, it was no longer the missions that came looking for him. Instead, the missions would come looking for him, and there would always be people asking for help. This phenomenon was not limited to him. The players could do it as well. For example, if a player had been in a certain star system for a long time and made a name for himself, he would occasionally meet NPCs who would come looking for him. This was the effect of regional reputation. It's like this. My request concerns the future of the Gyulul civilization. Cecilin sat up straight. I guessed it. If it wasn't something of this level, who would bother a beyond grade A? Han Zhao's expression did not change, and he raised his hand, indicating for Cecilin to continue. Before that, please allow me to briefly introduce the current situation of my civilization, Cecilin said solemnly. The Gyulul civilization has always been in a state of military division. The 3 main parties have formed their own military regions and are opposing each other, dividing the territory. These 3 parties are the Ancient Emperor Party, the Pioneer Party, and the Descender Party. The current ruling party representing the Gyul civilization is the Ancient Emperor Party, and they conduct diplomatic activities in the name of Gyul. My teammates and I are all members of the Ancient Emperor Party. As one of the edges of the explored universe, the situation in the Shattered Star Ring was rather complicated due to the lack of control. Some civilizations were very peaceful, while others were constantly in a state of internal strife. An internal military division, like the one in the Gyul civilization, could be considered a serious internal strife. I understand. What do you want to ask for? Han Xiao asked. I wish for the war assistance of the Black Star Corps to end the division of the Gyul civilization and bring us peace. Oh, I understand. You want to apply for war employment and have my people assist the ruling party in suppressing the other two parties, right? Han Xiao raised his brows. However, Cecilin shook his head and gave an unexpected answer. No, I hope that the Black Star Corps can assist the Pioneer Party to overthrow the rule of the Ancient Emperor Party and suppress the Descendant Party. Han Zhao's interest was piqued as he sized Cecilin up. You're a member of the Ancient Emperor Party, but you're actually speaking for another party? Could it be that you've secretly joined the Pioneer Party and are a spy? Cecilin shook his head. No, I was born on a colonial planet controlled by the Ancient Emperor Party. When I came of age, I served in the Ancient Emperor Party's army. Until now, I have not joined any other party. Then why are you doing this? Profit? Did the Pioneer Party promise you benefits? That's not it. I have a high position in the Ancient Emperor Party, and I'm also a war hero. The Pioneer Party won't try to rope in a hardcore member like me. Furthermore, with my position, the Ancient Emperor Party can give me whatever the Pioneer Party can. I'm not doing this for benefit. Then what is it for? Philosophy. Cecilin solemnly said, I agree with the ideals of the Pioneer Party. The Ancient Emperor Party is already rotten, and only the Pioneer Party can bring hope to the future of civilization. I get it. Han Xiao narrowed his eyes. You're a traitor. The Ancient Emperor Party gave you power and status, even allowing you to enjoy the evolution cube. Yet, you're secretly thinking of overthrowing their rule? From their standpoint, I'm indeed a traitor. However, from the standpoint of the Pioneer Party, I'm someone who has abandoned the dark for the light. Thus, I only want to focus on actual actions and not the evaluation of others, Cecilin said in a low voice. When I was young, I was a hot-blooded youth who always wanted to serve the civilization. However, my thinking back then was still immature. Like many others, I was also passionate about protecting the orthodox Ancient Emperor Party. Due to being born on a colonial planet, my standpoint was largely decided by nature. However, after serving the Ancient Emperor Party for so many years, I started to have doubts about their ideology and way of doing things, and my beliefs started to waver. Han Xiao looked at him and did not say anything. He had asked Philip to search for detailed information on the Gyul civilization, and he would not listen to just one side of the story. At this moment, Cecilin's voice fluctuated, and there was a hint of anger in it. Due to the conflict between the parties, the Ancient Emperor Party secretly committed many bloody acts against our own people in order to maintain their absolute rule. I was also involved in a portion of it, and now that I think about it, I regret it. I've seen the darkness of politics, the bloodiness of ruling, and the imprisonment of one's thoughts. I once fell into self-doubt, and my house was filled with medals given to me by the Ancient Emperor Party. In the past, I loved to look at them and reminisce about my past glory. However, when I look at these medals that I was once proud of, my nose can smell the nauseating stench of blood. Han Xiao stroked his chin. So, you decided to betray the party that groomed you. To be precise, after experiencing self-doubt, I felt that I had unlocked some sort of shackle. Cecilin took a sip of wine and sighed. I have always been bound by my identity, and at that moment, I understood that the three parties were just positions within the civilization. The so-called opposition was meaningless, and the future of the entire civilization should be paid more attention to. Whoever can bring a brighter future to Gyulul, I should help them. As such, I broke away from the entanglement of being a member of the ancient Emperor Party and the position that bound me. I chose to follow my own thoughts and follow the judgment of my heart. As such, I chose the Pioneer Party, which is supported by the people. They can bring Gyulul to greater heights. So, you think that you're very noble? Han Zhao's brows twitched. I don't have such thoughts. Cecilin shook his head. As for your choice, I'm just an outsider, and I don't wish to comment on it. Han Zhao slowly said, I only want to know. You said that you did not join any other party, so on what basis are you representing the Pioneer Party to discuss cooperation with me? Right now, I'm not representing the Pioneer Party but making a request to you in my own capacity. Han Zhao smiled. Then, why do you think that you can convince me to interfere in a civil war that I don't even care about? You have not reached a consensus with the Pioneer Party, and let's not talk about whether they have the intention of letting me interfere. Realistically speaking, can you afford to pay for the war employment? Why should I kick aside the ancient Emperor Party that I'm currently working with to help you? What can you offer me? I know that it's rude to ask you in my own capacity, but I have no other choice, Cecilin said with a deep voice. Cecilin solemnly said, The ancient Emperor Party sent me over with a mission, which is for me to represent the ancient Emperor Party to submit a request for employment. They are prepared to use force to eradicate the other two parties and reclaim their territories. So, that's the case. Han Zhao understood. The ancient Emperor Party wanted to resolve the division once and for all, but they did not wish to be controlled by an advanced civilization. Thus, they did not request the help of a star cluster civilization but wanted to hire external help, which was galactic mercenaries. In the Shattered Star Ring, there were a few large mercenary organizations, and the most representative of them were the Mercenary League, Bloodshedland, and the Black Star Corps. Because the Black Star Corps was the head of the Mercenary League and was an ally of the Bloodshedland, as long as they hired the Black Star Corps, the mercenaries in the Shattered Star Ring would not be hired by employers that opposed the Black Star Corps. After all, the Black Star Corps had a high status and was powerful. Although the mercenaries valued money, they did not want to send themselves to death. At the same time, mercenary groups that were cooperating with each other would not be hired by employers that opposed each other. This was an unspoken rule in the mercenary industry. In the mercenary world of the Shattered Star Ring, the status and influence of the Black Star Corps was already at the peak. As the ruling party, the ancient Emperor Party had already established a connection with the Black Star Corps. As long as they received assistance, the Pioneer Party that Cecilin had set his eyes on would definitely be wiped out. Thus, he could only take a risk and directly make a request to Han Zhao without sufficient preparation. TSK, I'm really unlucky to have chosen a traitor like you as my emissary. Han Zhao's mouth twitched. Could this be the meaning of, I didn't have a choice in the past, but I want to be a good person now? Han Zhao shook his head. Let's talk about something more practical. Regardless of which party is in power, it doesn't make much of a difference to me. The ancient Emperor Party definitely offered a reasonable price to cooperate with the Black Star Corps, and you came looking for me without any guarantee. Forget it, I don't wish to say anything unpleasant. This conversation can end here. As he spoke, Han Zhao put down his wine glass, stood up, and walked toward the door with dissatisfaction in his heart. Cecilin's words were pleasant to hear, but he did not even mention any substantial rewards. Han Zhao did not care about the struggle between parties in an unfamiliar civilization. After the Black Star Corps transformed, they had retained their mercenary business, and mercenaries were not charity organizations. Going against the rules of the profession was an act that lacked professional ethic. Without any benefits, He wanted to use his mouth to trick a beyond grade A super? Dream on. Why don't you die from your wishful thinking? Please wait. Cecilin hurriedly stood up. Just as you said, it doesn't matter which party is in power. The Pioneer Party will also maintain a cooperative relationship with you. I hope that you can help the Pioneer Party. The Gyulul civilization will become stronger, and the rewards will be greater. The ancient Emperor Party has already decayed, and the Pioneer Party is the only righteous one. What does the righteousness you speak of have to do with me? Han Shao did not even turn his head. Every word he said was a banner of righteousness. Since they were all here to make a living, there was no point in doing this. His kindness only existed between those he was familiar with, and it was extremely limited to strangers. This was due to his personality, as well as the coldness created by the era. Furthermore, after experiencing so many things, he naturally would not be so easily convinced by outsiders. Please help the Gyulul civilization. Dong. A strange sound came from behind, and Han Shao turned around to see Cecilin crawling on the ground. A calamity grade was begging for help in the most humble manner possible. His tone was anxious, and he had no other words. Glancing at him, Han Shao did not move. He retracted his gaze and was about to push open the door to leave. Right at this moment, a mission popped up on his interface. You have triggered the S-rank mission Gyulul Civilization. Pioneer's Flame. Mission Introduction. The Gyulul civilization is a galactic civilization that has been plagued by internal strife. The severe factional rivalry has caused this civilization to be shrouded in the flames of war. The civilization has not improved for many years and has even been regressing. In order to break this stalemate, Cecilin, as a member of the upper echelon of the ancient Emperor Party, has decided to join the Pioneer Party and has made a request to you. Mission requirements: overthrow the rule of the ancient Emperor Party, eradicate the Descendant Party, and make the Pioneer Party the ruler of the Gyulul civilization. Failure condition: destruction of the Pioneer Party reward. After completing the mission, the reward will depend on your performance. S-rank mission? Han Zhao's footsteps paused. The coup of a star system civilization was basically the same as an all-out war. It was indeed an S-grade difficulty. It was very difficult for players to influence the direction of a star system civilization's internal war. Of course, he was different. The Black Star Corps was very powerful and had the right to interfere in a cosmic system-level civilization war. This mission was not difficult for him. After thinking for a while, Han Shao did not stop. He quietly pushed open the door and walked out, leaving Cecilin in a daze. S-rank missions were indeed attractive, but helping the Pioneer Party gave him a mission. There was no reason that helping the ancient Emperor Party would not give him a mission. With Han Zhao's rich experience, he could tell that this was definitely a series of missions. Han Shao was prepared to communicate with the upper echelons of the Gyulul civilization and trigger the mission of the other party before deciding what to do. He was never someone who had obsessive-compulsive disorder where he had to complete every mission that popped up on the interface. S-rank missions were not a small matter. Although the Black Star Corps had the status of a star cluster civilization, it did not mean that they could ignore a star system civilization. Han Shao was very clear that although the Black Star Corps had a high status, it was partly because of him. After all, there was a limit to the development of a faction. The military strength of the Black Star Corps was not a problem for them to fight a star system civilization, but they were still far from a star cluster civilization. Han Shao did not really need the reward of this mission, and he did not care about the reward of a star system civilization. He was only concerned about this matter for the sake of the players. Naturally, he did not intend to personally interfere in this war employment. It would be too much of a bully for a beyond grade A to interfere in the battle of a star system civilization. Furthermore, He only wanted to quietly stay in the headquarters to build machinery and wait for the experience penalty period to pass. Thus, this mission was naturally left to the players. Furthermore, the players were indeed the best people to carry out such missions, and they could greatly reduce the casualties of the army. The Battle of Planet Lighthouse had come to an end, and there would probably not be any major events for a long time. The players could only do side missions. Although exploring the flickering world had its benefits, it was a little boring for the players. Thus, he wanted to create a new event to fill this gap and take care of the players' experience in the army. On the other hand, this was also to allow the players to obtain more rewards before the Pro League. The rewards of an S-rank war employment mission would definitely be better than a side mission. Helping the players grow faster within the limits of the version would increase the attractiveness of the faction, and Han Xiao had always been doing this. At this moment, Philip appeared in the quantum network. Master Hum, I've found the information on the ancient Emperor party that you requested. Upon hearing this, Han Xiao entered the quantum network to check the information. In this regard, Cecilin did not lie. He did not dare to lie. The ancient Emperor party was indeed not popular, and their rule was rotten. The nobles colluded with each other, and the citizens were filled with complaints. However, they were controlled by high pressure and did not dare speak out. The Advent party wasn't anything good either, being even more extreme to a certain extent. The Pioneer party wasn't as good as Cecilin had described them to be, but with the contrast of the other two parties, they were indeed the most reliable of the three main parties. They could be considered generals chosen from generals. After reading it, Han Xiao nodded. Seeing was believing, and he only knew what was going on with the information. Chapter 870. Han Xiao did not immediately contact the Gyulul civilization. The banquet was still going on, and he could not afford to neglect these guests. After returning to the banquet, Han Xiao collected quite a number of contact details. Relaxing times always passed quickly, and the banquet soon came to an end. Many guests bade farewell and left the venue. Han Xiao saw Cecilin's figure in the crowd. Cecilin's footsteps were hurried, but his expression remained the same. Revealing his cards to Han Xiao this time was akin to cutting off all means of retreat for him. However, Han Xiao did not intend to report to the party of a star system civilization. He was, after all, a beyond grade A, and he had no obligation to report to these people. The guests left one after another, and the mechanical waiters came to clean up the mess. This was the first year of the Evolution Banquet, and its influence was limited. If they wanted to compete with the Tyrants Party, they would need to make a name for themselves in the Shattered Star Ring for the various civilizations to form a habit of attending every year. After leaving the venue, Han Xiao did not stay idle. He met with the elites of the Red Empire alone. These people were more important, so they received special treatment. They did not talk about any serious matters and mainly chatted to get to know each other. These elites all had different levels of influence in the dynasty, and making more friends would help him expand his network in the dynasty. Because of the battle on Planet Lighthouse, Han Zhao's fame and status in the Red Empire had risen. He realized that the attitude of these elites toward him was even more respectful than before, and they no longer treated him as an ordinary beyond grade A ally. Everyone chatted happily. After sending off the elites of the dynasty, Han Xiao returned to his room and got Philip to contact the upper echelons of the Gyulul civilization's ancient Emperor party. He did not reveal Cecilin's betrayal but said that Cecilin had already requested war employment and had completed the mission. Thus, he had called to discuss this matter. The upper echelons of the ancient Emperor party did not suspect anything and proposed the remuneration. There were rewards, various military resources, mechanical materials, and other practical rewards, as well as long-term mining rights to more resource-rich planet. A normal galactic mercenary organization would only be able to obtain rewards such as the right to use military factories, military resource purchasing channels, and so on. However, the Black Star Army had a different background, so they were able to obtain things such as the right to mine resource planets, which normal mercenary groups could not obtain. As expected, the Gulal civilization's civil war was indeed a series of missions. After contacting the Ancient Emperor Party, an S-rank mission popped up on his interface. It was different from the Pioneer Party's Flame of the Pioneer mission. This mission was called Upholding the Orthodoxy, and the goal was to help the Ancient Emperor Party suppress the other parties and reclaim their territories. Without giving the Ancient Emperor Party a proper reply, Han Shao ended the call and rubbed his chin. They're all S-rank missions, so the rewards should be about the same. Perhaps there's a slight difference in the difficulty of the missions. For example, the Ancient Emperor Party is the strongest, so it's easier to suppress them. On the other hand, the Descendant Party is the weakest, so the rewards should be greater. After thinking about it, Han Shao got Philip to check on the current leader of the Pioneer Party. Cecilin was just an unexpected factor, and Han Shao planned to directly contact the Pioneer Party. The Gulal civilization's military was divided, so the Pioneer Party had their own territory on the surface, and it was easy to find their number. The call was quickly connected. "You are." The secretary's figure appeared on the screen, and before he could finish his sentence, he saw Han Zhao's appearance and was shocked. Black Star? Han Shao was too famous in the Shattered Star Ring, and while ordinary people might not recognize him, as an official of a star system civilization, it was impossible for this secretary not to recognize this face. Han Zhao's call made him fall into disbelief. "Connect me to the leader of your Pioneer Party," Han Shao said calmly. Oh, I'll connect you to the internal line immediately." Please wait a moment," the secretary stammered. While they were not the ruling party, the leader of the Pioneer Party was not someone that ordinary people could meet as and when they wanted to. However, an important figure like Black Star was clearly an exception. Not long after, the leader of the Pioneer Party came online, and the shock in his eyes could not be concealed. He had been waiting for an important call when he suddenly received the news that Black Star was calling. He was also shocked, and had yet to recover from the shock. Why would Black Star, who had never interacted with them before, suddenly look for them, and even specifically ask to meet him? "Your Excellency Black Star, why are you looking for me?" the leader of the Pioneer Party asked cautiously. "I've also heard about the situation of your Gulal civilization. Not long ago, the Ancient Emperor Party sent me a war mercenary request, wanting to borrow the strength of the Black Star Corps to eliminate the other parties. Are you aware of this matter? Is this true?" The leader of the Pioneer Party's expression changed. It was not that he did not know about this matter. In fact, he had been waiting for the report from his spy. Their spy in the Ancient Emperor Party had heard some unusual movements and guessed that the other party wanted to seek external help. Now, this was confirmed by Black Star. The leader of the Pioneer Party knew the severity of the matter and immediately panicked. However, he quickly reacted. If Black Star had accepted, why would he inform them? Why would Black Star call them? With a flash of inspiration, the leader of the Pioneer Party thought that he understood the meaning behind Black Star's word. "Your Excellency Black Star, no matter what price the Ancient Emperor Party offered, we will double it. As long as the Black Star Corps is willing to assist us in overthrowing the Ancient Emperor Party, we will definitely not go back on our words." Since the purpose of the visit had been made clear, there was no need for pleasantries. The leader of the Pioneer Party went straight to the point. He truly desired the assistance of the Black Star Corps, but before today, he had never thought about it. The Ancient Emperor Party had only been in contact with the Black Star Corps for roughly a year, and it was only limited to business cooperation. On the other hand, the Pioneer Party had never interacted with the Black Star Corps before. Damn, he's treating me as a warmonger. Han Zhao's brows twitched. However, from the perspective of the leader of the Pioneer Party, this was indeed the case. After all, the leader of the Pioneer Party knew nothing about Cecilin. Thinking about it, Han Zhao was not interested in exposing Cecilin. After all, this fellow had brought him a mission, and before he took the initiative to betray him, he would just let him hide his achievements and reputation. After pondering for a moment, under the nervous gaze of the leader of the Pioneer Party, Han Zhao slowly nodded his head. "All right, let's do that. When the time comes, I'll get someone to look for you to sign an employment contract." With that, he hung up the call. Looking at the black screen, the leader of the Pioneer Party slumped into his chair and fell into a daze. He felt as though he was dreaming. Without any warning, he had obtained the help of a major organization like the Black Star Corps in less than a few minutes of discussion. At this moment, he deeply experienced the terrifying power of the Black Star Army, which could decide the life and death of others with just a thought. With a huge external force like the Black Star Army, the stalemate of the Gyulul civilization for many years finally welcomed a turning point. Could it be that Black Star is really doing this for the sake of being a warmonger? There doesn't seem to be a need for him to do this. At this moment, the leader of the Pioneer Party had doubts. The Black Star clearly had no relationship with the Pioneer Party, so why would he suddenly choose them? There must be a reason behind this that I don't know. The leader of the Pioneer Party had a gloomy expression. However, since Black Star did not say anything, he had forgotten to ask, and it was not appropriate to ask now. The leader of the Pioneer Party did not want to be kept in the dark. He decided to slowly investigate what had happened in a place that he did not know. Someone must have done something to cause Black Star to take the initiative to look for him. On the other side, Han Zhao put away his communicator. This small episode had come to an end for him. He only needed to wait for the Pioneer Party to sign an employment contract with the Army's mercenary department before sending out a faction mission. The rest would be the matter of the players and Army members. This was equivalent to pulling a project for the Army players to do, and he did not need to pay attention to the rest. Choosing to help the Pioneer Party had nothing to do with Cecilin. Among the three parties, the Pioneer Party was relatively better. Only when one's own interests were protected would one have the right to do good deeds. This had always been his motto. On the other hand, the Pioneer Party seemed more righteous, and many players liked this. This was another pursuit of the players other than their own interests. Therefore, under these considerations, the Ancient Emperor Party and the more extreme Descender Party were eliminated. Helping a relatively righteous party would help increase the player's sense of identity toward the army. At the very least, it would not cause any disgust from the players. A few days later, the elites of the various civilizations left the Black Star Corps headquarters one after another. The spaceship of the Gyulul civilization left the port and headed into space. Cecilin looked at the Black Star Corps until it disappeared from his sight, and he could not hide the disappointment on his face. 2 days ago, the leader of the Ancient Emperor Party had specially contacted him and praised his contributions. He said that Black Star had already contacted them and believed that they would receive the assistance of the Black Star Corps very soon. I wasn't able to convince Black Star. Pioneer Party. Cecilin was depressed. He did not feel that he alone would be able to change the situation of the Pioneer Party. Right at this moment, his comrade beside him suddenly exclaimed into the communicator, "Look, the Pioneer Party just announced that they have reached an agreement with the Black Star Corps and are going to launch an all-out attack." What? Everyone on the ship was shocked and took out their communicators to check. Cecilin's face was filled with astonishment, and he also took out his communicator to check. The more he read, the more agitated he became. How could this be? Could it be that my words were really effective? Cecilin was so agitated that he could not control himself. His actions had really brought about a turnaround, allowing Black Star to make a different decision. If he had not taken this risk, Black Star would most likely have agreed to the ancient Emperor Party's request and would not have had the time to understand the situation of the Gyulul civilization. Regardless of what conditions the Pioneer Party had reached with Black Star, regardless of what Black Star was thinking, he had contributed greatly. Just like two different tracks, he had pushed the wrench and caused fate to deviate from its original path. Cecilin turned to look in the direction of the Black Star core. Although he knew that Black Star did not need his gratitude, he still had a look of gratitude on his face. He was not sure if Black Star had exposed his identity or not, so he silently placed this matter in his heart. He felt that he had only done the right thing and did not intend to claim credit from the Pioneer Party. In the military machinery factory, Han Shao released the faction mission that he had set up and opened the forums to take a look. The players of the army were already very familiar with this kind of war employment. Every time, it represented a large-scale operation, and the players had always loved such big events. This time, they were participating in a star system level war to help a party eliminate a competitor. They had teammates on their side, and the opponent was not an entire star system level civilization. The difficulty was just right for the current players. The army players were extremely interested and enthusiastically participated, calling for their friends on the forums. After taking a few looks and confirming that there was no problem with the players' reactions, Han Shao closed the forums. The players would do what they wanted, and he did not need to worry about them. This star system level war employment would probably last until the end of the version, and the players would have things to do for a long time. This way, I can have some free time to build my mech legion. Han Shao exhaled. After the experience penalty period, he still had to deal with God. Making him shut his mouth forever was the most important thing. Before that, Han Shao decided to stay in the military machinery factory and go into seclusion, no longer paying attention to all the miscellaneous matters in the outside world. God was already strong enough, and now that he had even evolved, his strength was unimaginably high. Thinking about this, Han Shao felt quite a bit of psychological pressure. In order to kill this guy, he had to make a lot of preparations. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.